Why, hello there, and welcome on in. Welcome to your Monday stream. Should be a good one, man. On the Discord, a bunch of people were talking about whiteboarding. A lot of people confused about Doomsday, and I was kind of, I'd been kind of feeling it for a while as far as doing a whiteboard stream. I actually have a really interesting structure to this, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun getting into the details about that. So that'll be later on in the show. We will start today's show by going over some news, man. There's some crazy news out there, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy news. Apparently, Warner Brothers did actually meet with Saudi Arabia. There's possibility that the DCU is going to be under control. We'll get into it. We'll talk about that. And sort of maybe even in potential response to that story, there's another story out there about the casting for Man of Tomorrow and the possibility of Wonder Woman being in that film. That's kind of interesting. So, we're going to get into all of that because, it kind of feels like either way you slice it, you're probably getting James Gunn's Man of Tomorrow. I personally still feel as though the DCU is just going to continue, almost no matter who buys Warner Brothers. But we will get into the possibilities surrounding the Saudi purchase. How real is it? What could it actually mean? We'll also discuss the other parties that are at play here because bids are supposed to be going in this Thursday. We very well might know who the purchasee, or I guess the purchaser of Warner Brothers, either completely or partially. We might know that within the next couple of weeks. So that's really interesting, and we'll get into that. And we'll, of course, talk about the Wonder Woman in Man of Tomorrow as well. There's a big story out there about Tobey Maguire, the fucking GOAT. He was confirmed to be in Doomsday by Daniel RPK, but there's more to it. Folks are interested in whether or not Toby will die. A lot of different discussions going on within the fandom with regards to that question. So I wanted to kind of do a segment on that, break that down. We have leaks for the Zelda movie. And what's wild about that is, like, you have leaks for the Zelda movie, but Nintendo, just like they did about a year ago when there were other leaks about that film, Nintendo either saw that they were out there and didn't like it or wanted to take control of the narrative. Because on the heels of the leaks that came out over the weekend, Nintendo officially reveals our first look at Princess Zelda and Link in the film, and they look phenomenal. So I think it would be kind of interesting to talk about that a little bit as well. So it should be a juicy stream, and then we got ye old whiteboard. And again, I think it's going to be really awesome, man. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that part of the show. Anyway, how you guys doing? What's going on out there? Let's see here. Palp says, hey, Josh, family had a tough weekend. Had to take back the dog we just adopted. Looking forward to Thanksgiving break this Friday, though. No Avengers for life, 12 Avengers for life. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Yeah, man. That kind of stuff is always hard. There have been moments, because we have the two dogs, obviously, and they're very difficult dogs. So we've even had a couple of moments just because, like, 2 kids and 2 dogs is pretty crazy. We had a couple of moments where we were, like, seriously considering getting rid of one or both of the dogs, putting them up for adoption or something, just because it's a lot, And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, had we come to the conclusion that that was the move and we had made that move, I would have felt fine. You know what I mean? So look, man, life is complicated and challenging, and you're always going to have to make choices. I think choices is kind of an inevitability. You're basically going to be confronted with choices. And you'll make some good ones, and you'll make some bad ones. Just try to keep your chin up, man. And that is a tough one, though. We love dogs, and obviously, like, companionship and all that. It's very tough to see that go away. Vincent, what's up, brother? Remember, 28 months says, I'm in New York, and I saw George Lucas yesterday. He randomly passed a Five Guys while he was walking out. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's kind of funny. You just saw Uncle George just walking out. He actually has a lot of candid photos out there. Some of them are less flattering than others. But yeah, George is just out there, man. He's just like one of the people, huh? Probably one of the most low-key billionaires you can think of. Rossi, thank you for the rose, brother. Appreciate it. Eric says, it's my birthday today, and I just got back from Warped Tour. Met a lot of people. It was an amazing time. Looking forward to the stream because my legs hurt. Well, first of all, happy birthday to you, brother. And getting back from Warped Tour, that is crazy. That's probably a real fun time. So happy birthday to you, and I hope it was good, and rest those legs, baby. Rest those legs. Papa Josh got you today. Doomsday will be Doomsday, as in victory. It be better than Infinity War. Doom's about to just own everyone. Yeah, you know, I think, and I would love to know what you guys think about this. I think people are starting to get hyped about Doomsday again, which is interesting. You know, it is interesting, and obviously, like, I've been covering it the whole time. Was covering Marvel before Doomsday was announced. We'll be covering Marvel after Doomsday, which is one of those things. But it's kind of ebbed and flowed. I think when the announcement was first made, and Downey came out last year at Comic-Con, oh my God, man, it was insane. And, you know, people were losing their minds, and I think the hype was really high. There were a lot of questions, but the hype was high. And I think this year of 2025 for Marvel, unfortunately, kind of put a damper on some of that. Maybe it's been all the delays. Maybe it's been some of the leaks and the rumors. But I would say up until about a month ago, there was certainly like a dipping period where the hype for Doomsday seemed to dip and a lot of questions began to rise about the quality of the film. However, and this kind of just naturally happened to me a bit, but I think it's happening to a lot of folks, is I'm now, a lot of the stuff I'm hearing, I'm like, whoa, like, damn, they're cooking. Like, it just feels like, even if, it kind of feels like the Russos and Feige are kind of making this silent promise, which is to say, like, hey, you might not agree with all the decisions we're going to make here, but you're going to walk out feeling like your mind was properly fucked. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. I should find a better way to say it, but like, meaning they're going to give us what we want. They're going to blow our fucking minds, dude. Like, they are going to give us shit that is just, if you're a Marvel head, if you're a Marvel fan, it will be undeniable to you how cool some of this shit is. I mean, if Namor comes riding a fucking Kraken and Magneto has a Utopia. I mean, guys, and these are just like two little moments. Like, I'm just telling you, like, so for me, I think a lot of people are starting to kind of catch on to that. I know that the fans, like the hardcore, like the nerd Avengers, I mean, like, yo, we've been in it, right? So we're all kind of aware of every little story and leak, you know, and so our vibe is kind of changing into hype a little bit more. But I'm starting to see it just happen overall in general. And, you know, we spoke last week to this marketing campaign. The reports are Marvel is going to launch the most expensive and ambitious marketing campaign ever in the history of the superhero film genre for Doomsday. So they're going to let everybody know. And I kind of love this. You know, you caught me yapping here. I'm almost done. But like, hey, give us the goods. Like, if you're actually cooking and you got the goods, nothing wrong with just throwing a bunch of promo out there and being like, hey, guess what? We got the goods. Like, again, you know what I mean? And then the next, hey, guess what? We got the goods. I kind of want a year of we got the goods from Marvel, and them just coming out and be like, yo, we got the goods, baby. Let's see here. Cantina Talk says, the whiteboard, LMAO, I'm seated. Nice. Davy84 says, talk about the trailers attached to Avatar. What do you mean? I mean, so there's a lot of rumors of trailers that'll be attached to Avatar. Avatar is shaping up to be like a little San Diego Comic-Con. Okay, now I don't know for sure. I mean, I've heard what you guys have probably heard as far as the trailers that are attached. Doomsday, potentially even Spider-Man, which I think would be crazy. You know, there's even some Supergirl rumors, although I don't know how true that is. But yeah, the rumors are the Avatar movie's going to have a lot of trailers. Is that what you're asking me about? Chillin' says, sup, yo? Had a mass on my ankle, biopsy this morning. No cancer worries. Great, man. Just a pre-surgical necessity. I'm off for the day and get to enjoy the whole stream live. Nerd Adventures for life. Basement Crew Nerdverse. Love to hear it, man. Glad that you got a positive update on that. And also glad that you're able to kick it and chill. And chill for the day, man. Oh, it's going to be a good one. Josh, you want to go see Avatar with me? Dude, I would love to go see Avatar with you, bro. You know, shit. But we'll see, too, because I also have to, like, kind of worry about the content and all that. So I'm going to have to cover the trailers and all that. You know what I mean? You fly me out? Oh, my God, dude. Really? Rolling out the red carpet? I mean, I really appreciate it, but I don't know, man. Hit me up in the DMs, man. Maybe we'll see what's going on. Okay, let me try to give y'all a little bit of updates about the week. Just some thoughts that I'm having about what I want to do this week, and then we'll get into the news, and then we'll get into the whiteboard explanation. I'm telling you, we got a really good format today. I think the whiteboard portion of the stream is going to be juicy. We're going to have you on the edge of your seat. Javier, appreciate the 5, brother. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, he's going to fly me out for a $5 Tuesday? Yeah, probably, huh? In this economy, Kendall? Okay. So a couple of things I'm thinking about, guys. Chat, help me out and correct me if I am wrong. I'm pretty sure Deadpool VR comes out officially tomorrow. Now, I messaged the guys today, this morning, and I kind of apologized because the last they heard from me was like a couple of weeks ago. Basically, right as all the tech issues hit the tower, I didn't hit them back up. We were working on getting me early access for the Deadpool game, and I went ghost on them, but it was because of the tech issues, and I just wanted to drill down on that, right? But I'm pretty sure the game officially releases tomorrow. Like, yo, chat, help me out on that. I'm pretty sure it does. Or is it December 18th? If it's tomorrow, which I think it is, I mean, I'd kind of like to try to stream Deadpool VR for you. I don't know how that'll work, and I'll have to spend some time tonight setting up my VR thing. I still haven't opened it. But, you know, they taught me a little bit when I was in New York as how to use it. So hopefully I can figure it out. You know, let's let this boomer give that VR a shot. And then if we can get it sorted, I think it would be kind of cool to stream some Deadpool VR with you guys tomorrow, okay? So that's what I want to try to do tomorrow. If not, we'll just do a regular stream. And then what I'm kind of thinking this week, guys, Wednesday night, I think we need to do another stream where we kind of talk about the coming video series, and I want to kind of like update you guys about that sort of stuff. We should be able to stream today, tomorrow, Wednesday. I'm going to take Thursday off probably, and then we'll stream. Yeah, we should stream Friday. Yeah, and we'll just see what the week gives us, man. I don't really know. I do know I have like a half hour, or it's like a 27-minute to a half-hour long video that's currently being edited right now that'll drop tomorrow. I think it's another banger. I think it's going to be a very big video, so look out for that tomorrow. I've got a lot of other video ideas and stuff that I'm cooking. I'm trying to get that Warhammer video up. It's just the Warhammer stuff kind of comes after Den of Nerds stuff for now. Not always. It won't always be the case. But for now, that's what it is. So, yeah, that's kind of the general plans, man. So hopefully some Deadpool VR tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk some news as well. Wednesday, regular stream, or Avengers stream, we'll talk more about the coming video series, and we'll just kind of hang out. And then the only other thing I will say is I do have a lot of fun stuff planned for the month of December. So one of the things we started doing last year, which I think was so cool and it's going to become a tradition, is I did an entire stream where I broke down 2025 predictions for Marvel, 2025 predictions for DC, 25 predictions for Star Wars, okay? So on one of the coming streams in December, we will watch all of those clips, and I will react to my 2025 predictions and see what I got right and what I got wrong. And then I will also make predictions for 2026. So this will kind of become a tradition where at the end of the year, we go over my previous year's predictions and see how much I got right or how much I got wrong. And then I'll give predictions for the following year, and we'll start doing that. I also have other like kind of more fun holiday kind of streams figured out. Of course, I think the holidays are a time to be more casual, more chill. For us, there will be a good portion of like actual work because of the Doomsday trailer and stuff like that that's coming. But I also want to have a lot of fun streams in the month of December. Kick it, man. You have some very casual streams. I'd love to maybe do some Warhammer streams. Maybe we paint some Warhammer models. I actually wanted to do, Christmas cookie ranking again? I think we got to. Yeah, that would be really fun. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to do a Warhammer stream tomorrow because I really want to like paint some Warhammer, maybe play some Warhammer, just hang out, be a nice casual stream. But I do think the Deadpool VR is coming out, so I think that's the move for tomorrow if I can get it to work. So Yeah, hey, we're winding down the year. It's been a good year in a lot of ways. It's been a challenging year in a lot of ways. I think it's all going to get better from here. That includes Star Wars, that includes DC, that includes Marvel. It's all going to get better from here. But damn, 2025 was a little bit of a year, you know what I mean? So, all right, any last minute thoughts on any of that in the intro? And then I think it's time, man. Let's just get into it. Let me go through the news, and then let's get into the whiteboard. So no stream tomorrow is what I'm hearing. Get out of here. Hey, how's Gambit, dude? In Rivals, I've heard a lot of people very positive on it. I just can't get off Arc Raiders, man. Like, I literally just can't get off Arc Raiders. Oh my goodness, I'm having so much fun playing it. But the Rivals updates seem incredible, and I do want to play. So Gambit, to me, like, when I first heard he was a healer, I was like, I don't know about that shit. But if he can sort of sling cards and do damage in the way that, like, early Luna was able to do and Mantis, then, I don't know, man, I might be about that life. It's interesting, but I guess it's better to have really fun healers. I mean, healers are an essential part of the game, so why not have really fun, really fan-favorite healing characters? It's probably good for the balance and all that, you know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. Ethan says, juicy news, half a year. Wow, great community, Nerd Ventures for life. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you very, very much for that support. We need more healers in the game. It was a good idea making him a healer. Yeah, I hear you on that. Would Marvel benefit from dropping an official pick of Victor before the trailer? No. I see what you're saying. But I don't know about that. Rogue better be a tank. Hell yeah, brother. Hey, it's good to see you in here, man. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Esquivo, I think. Esquivo. Guys, unless I'm mistaken, that is the gentleman that was the artist on the Batman. And now I'm embarrassed because maybe I'm getting this wrong and you're just some random guy. But, I think that's the artist that did our Batman, the Batman comic I made, the 10-pager. Is Tobey Maguire going to be the same from his trilogy or a variant? I think they're going to keep it vague, but I think it'll be implied. Like, I think you're supposed to consider him as the same character. Now, that's an interesting question because I think we're going to run into the same issue with the Fox X-Men because it's like variants of the characters we know from those films. So you're supposed to, like, have a feeling of association with them. Oh, hell yeah, man. Well, it's good to see you, brother. Thanks for being in here. Dude, our Batman book fucking cooked, bro. Like, I mean, I told you some of the stuff behind the scenes about it, but, like, there's really good writers that have read that and are like, dude, you got chops. But anyway, Buffer Overrun says, missed last week's stream. Any thoughts on the stream machine? It looks dope. I didn't actually look too far into it, but I think that's a great idea from what I saw. I think it's a great idea, and I think VR gaming is obviously going to be the future. It's kind of taken me a while to get on board, and I was really appreciative to go out and try the Deadpool VR thing and all that, because I was like, damn, this shit has come a long way. Even from the time of, like, Vader Immortal, the tech is just, it's so much better. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting for sure. What the hell? Philip says, did you hear the Steelers are moving to Canada? They'll be Ontario Steelers now? GTFO, brother. Ain't no way. Ain't no way, Philip. But I will say, you know, on that note about the Steelers, what a weird fucking team to root for, man. Like, all of a sudden they show up as men, like, out of nowhere and put an absolute whooping on Cincinnati. Aaron gets hurt, but Mason Rudolph looks decent. It's just weird. It's just being a Steeler fan is tough, bro. Like, it is. I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe Mason can carry us through a couple of games while that gets fixed up, because Rodgers looked good. Rodgers looks more mobile than I could have possibly imagined. I think that's pretty crazy. So, yeah, Steelers fans, man. Is Aaron Rodgers as old as Mike Tomlin? Seems like it. He might be. I don't know. Might be. Are you ever going to update the Raylo playlist? I don't know what that means, brother. Like, do I actually have a Raylo playlist? That must be from years ago. So let me tell you guys, can I tell you guys a story about Raylo? Let me tell you a little story about Raylo, okay? How many of you remember the Vincent Vendetta Star Wars theory videos? Okay, these things were huge. His Snoke his Snoke and Mace Windu video, I think, got like 10 million views. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, around the time of Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, obviously I was way more positive on Star Wars back then. I did not have a lot of the same concerns that a lot of people did around that time. And even though I was conflicted on Last Jedi, I believe I walked out enjoying it initially. I think there's a lot of Star Wars fans gaslighting themselves around that time. Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers initially loved the film. Star Wars Theory initially loved the film, man. Honest to God, it wasn't until Dash and Geekdom 101, in my opinion, like this is what happened, was Dash and Geekdom. I remember that holiday season, an 8-hour car trip back from Boston, watching the Dash and Geekdom video where they start just shitting all over Last Jedi, and then you saw like all these people start to turn on it and call it all these different things. So anyway, around that time, the Vincent Vendetta video, I was actually like in communication with Vincent, and he was making these videos, and they were popping off. And his Reylo videos were the same way. They made like millions and millions of views. And so after The Last Jedi came out, actually, I think before and then right after the film, I made a couple of videos basically saying that I thought the Reylo theory was correct, which I still to this day believe was true. I believe Disney panicked, and I think they got cold feet, and then they changed it. But I originally think they were going to do some really weird version of Enemies to Heroes, The Maiden, like some of these older mythologies that, I think, frankly, modern audiences started to call like problematic and whatnot. And I think Disney saw it, panicked, and changed everything. But what's weird about YouTube is around that time, those videos that I were making about Reylo were going crazy. And in fact, if I hadn't stopped and like assessed what was going on, my channel literally could have become pigeonholed into being a Reylo channel. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, that shit happened. And I, to this day, because the Reylos kind of fucking hate me nowadays, because I kind of turned on them and said some not so nice things about them. So most of them have kind of like turned on me. But to this day, I still get Reylos recognizing me in the wild. It's crazy. I'll go to a Comic-Con and Reylos come up to me. I've been spotted in public more by Reylos than almost any other fandom in the world. It's crazy. So, yeah, you're probably referring to a playlist that I created back then that I haven't updated in years and years and years. But, I mean, legitimately, I think that tension and that thing that they were cooking, and I'm not talking about like what the fangirls turned it into, but I'm talking more in the sense of the mythological, like the myth that they were trying to tell there. I think that it was the most compelling aspect of the sequel trilogy. And if they hadn't chickened out and if they had gone full bore to it, I think the movies would have been better. You know what I mean? So I have it's somewhat of a long-winded answer to your query, but I have a complicated relationship with those ideas and those fans. And yeah. Just one of the many things that happen. That's why Josh doesn't go to the P.O. box anymore. Yeah, they're all out there, man. They're all out there with their picket signs and everything, yeah. A lot of mileage on this super chat. I did get a lot of mileage out of that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right already. Okay, all right. Shall we begin? Shall we begin, chat? And shall we start? Oh boy. I just want to adjust a thing here. Hang on now. All right, that's good there. Okay, so I think the place to start, man, is DC. Okay, which I guess we'll see how you feel about it. Chat, you seen this story? Is it time? Is it time to get crazy? I feel like you guys are gonna get quite rowdy about this part. Okay, about this part, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, you might have seen some posts come out recently that are discussing the possibility of Warner Brothers being purchased by some either company or money fund in Saudi Arabia. Of course, I did discuss this a couple of weeks back because there were early indications that this was going on, but it was like really in the territory of rumor. Okay, but we did mention this. It does appear to be true. So let's read this article, which, by the way, is on the fucking New York Post. So it's like as real gets. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts travels to Saudi Arabia as he explores bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts recently visited Saudi Arabia as he has been exploring a possible bid for Warner Bros. Discovery, according to a source with knowledge of the matter. While abroad, the exec met with reps from the Middle Eastern country's deep-pocketed public investment fund, Puck News reported Tuesday. That was a big thing. Matthew Bellany put this out on Tuesday. It did make some waves and caused the follow-up here from the Post. The trip coincided with a high-profile dinner the Simon Wiesenthal Center hosted on October 30th to honor Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav for his combating anti-Semitism. Okay, kind of interesting there. Now, the point is, this guy was supposed to be at that kind of, you would have imagined this dude would have been at that sort of a presentation, but he wasn't. And that was the first thing that tipped people off as to like, wait, what's going on with this guy? And then they found his whereabouts. Roberts has been interested in buying Warner Brothers Discovery through President Trump favors Skydance, as the Post previously reported. Zaslav wants to spark a bidding war for Warner Bros. Discovery, believing there's a lot of big male energy among potential bidders for his media company. There's a lot of big male energy among potential bidders for his media empire. I'm not exactly sure what that means. That probably speaks to some of the framing around the earlier reports that, like, Paramount sees the brand as going into middle America. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Guests at the Los Angeles dinner for Zaslav included some of the players who have been eyeing a bid for Paramount, or that have been eyeing a bid. Paramount, Skydance CEO David Ellison, and Netflix's Ted Sarandos. Roberts' absent from the shindig sparked speculation he may be seeking support from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF, whose assets under management come to nearly $1 trillion. While in Saudi Arabia, he met with two PIF officials although the contents of that meeting were not known. Two sources told Puck. The execs also attended an annual gathering for financial big shots alongside many other American CEOs organized by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a source told the Post. Additionally, Roberts visited Qiddiya, the home of the new mega city of play, where Six Flags and Dragon Ball Z themed amusement parks are being built, the source said. Those buildings the city are interested in a universal theme park, but nothing has been planned yet, the source added. David Ellison, the powerful dad Larry Ellison, and Paramount Skybound board member Jerry Cardinal visited Saudi Arabia last week, according to Puck. The outlet said the trio did not meet with the Saudis, and the purpose of the trip is not known. Zaz believes Warner Bros. Discovery could go for as much as $70 billion, or around $30 a share, a steep premium to the bid that's already rejected from Paramount Skydance of $24 a share, the Post previously reported. With Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley advising on a potential Comcast bid for Warner Bros. Discovery, Robert met with Zaslav last week, according to Semaphore Report. While Comcast appears eager to make a bid, the company, which is worth about $100 billion, would likely need a major backer to fund the transaction. Comcast is spinning Trump-hating CNBC into a new company, as Roberts has been cozying up to Trump, taking lefty heat for Comcast's recent multi-million-dollar donation to fund Trump's new White House ballroom. And Comcast alliance to the Saudi backers, whether it's for the Warner Bros. Discovery deal or the theme park, would likely be a tough sell to the slew of journalists at Comcast, NBC News, and Warner Bros. Discovery, CNN, considering the nation's history of violent persecutions of journalists, including the Jamal Khashoggi incident. Saudi partnership would also likely face regulatory scrutiny in the U.S. The Post has sought comment from Comcast. Okay, so pretty wild story here. Now, the question becomes, is this just a play to raise the stock price in the bidding war? And according to other reporting which came out last week, The bids are going in this Thursday. A round of bids from various companies is going to go in this Thursday, okay? So I think, as we've been saying, this is such a big deal and there's so much at stake and so many people are invested in this that all of the different ways that people can put narrative out there, they're going to use it. And so a lot of these things are just narrative, and maybe it's a little bit of a fugazi, and maybe it's to create a bidding war, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, do I think the Saudis could buy Warner Brothers? I do. I do actually think that's possible. Now, a lot of people think it's absolutely insane, but I'm reminded of the Twitter deal and Elon Musk. And I think, this is what I said before too, by the way, I think there's a scenario in which the PIF makes an over offer that the board and Zaslav may have a fiduciary responsibility to accept. I don't know that to be 100% the case, and I know that like it's a foreign company, and maybe this does bring it under more regulatory scrutiny. Maybe that can't exactly happen, but I also know that the Crown Prince and Trump have an incredible relationship. They're like really cozy, so I don't know that there would be as much of a problem there as some are suggesting, right? Yeah, it's a really, really interesting question. And then I think from Zaslav's perspective, I mean, this is, I'll just say this, and this is just speculation. This is just me kind of like using my brain parts and trying to figure out what could happen. I think if this does happen, it'll just be for the IP. I think Warner Brothers and a lot of its other assets would still go to an American company. And it's possible that that IP could be sold out to this other company. Now, look, there's a lot of reasons that people would be concerned about this. I don't necessarily love this idea either. But I do think it's technically possible. And I think we're living in a world where, like, look, Hollywood and the studios, as we have said many times over the last year, are kind of fucked. And you know, you look at the blockbusters this year, and I'm watching a lot of this because I follow a lot of the people that, you know, follow the box office, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, without like Minecraft and a couple other big hits that happened, I think Lilo and Stitch, the box office this year would look even worse. And there's real questions on whether theatrical has a future, especially in its current form, you know? You know, this is actually something else that Matthew Bellany has been speaking about in Puck. He just did a big article about how he's sounding the bell on the Titanic, that even with some of these big hits, and Warner Brothers had a pretty good year as compared to some of their other years, they're kind of screwed. And I think a lot of this is going to go to other, like this IP is still valuable, but the theatrical system, Hollywood itself, that model may not be what it is. And if the parks or whatever the kingdom feels they could do with that IP is more in line with the way that consumerism is going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, again, I could see a scenario in which this happened. I mean, everybody has an opinion about this, and there's some people that think this would be better than Paramount. Some people think Paramount would be the worst case scenario. Some people think Netflix would be the worst case scenario. But I think if you take a step back, it's just probably fair to say that there's not really a lot of good scenarios for them. And that's because things are changing wildly. And it's either going to be a tech company or a company that wants to become a tech company, or it's going to be a public fund of, the Middle Eastern kingdom company that has almost unlimited resources. Like, look at the way some of this other stuff is going, you know, whether it's golf, baseball, soccer, big money is being used right now to sort of shift the controlling entities for some of these organizations, maybe some of the pieces of these organizations. Like, that's something that's happening worldwide. So I wouldn't rule this out completely, but I actually don't think this is what is going to happen. I think this is probably Zaslav doing this to try to get that stock price up, and maybe even using some weird tactic where like an American company would be incentivized to spend a little bit extra money to keep that in America. You know what I mean? I don't know for sure, but like that almost feels like potentially some leverage that's being applied there. So fascinating story. And then of course the other angle the one that's really going to piss everybody off, except my Snyder bros, is we got to talk about the possibility that out of this insane scenario, the Saudis would actually allow Zack Snyder to restore the Snyderverse. And I got to say, and maybe I'm speaking out of class, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think the Saudis are the most likely party to do that. For sure. 100%. They have a relationship with Zack. I think Zack's always been, he's always done incredibly internationally, and his very crazy visual style has always appealed to a lot of people all around the world. You know, I was just noticing this new movie coming out of India by the guy that made RRR. I forget exactly the name of it, but the visuals are blowing me away, and I see a lot of Zack Snyder inspiration there. And like, I just think whether we're talking about anime and its prevalence in Japan saying we're going to make a $130 billion industry out of anime by 2030. And that's like very different than the cultural philosophy that they've used with anime over the last 50 years. India, you know, really stepping up with a lot of their high level productions and films. China making massive movies that are dominating global markets. Things are changing, things are shifting, and within that scenario, if there's anything that could happen, and I got to be honest with you, I think that Snyder's stuff would compete better than Gunn stuff in that kind of a scenario. I mean, technically speaking, we already have the evidence of this. Gunn stuff literally has never done as good as Snyder stuff, ever. But even still, you know, if you want to be really fair, and I thought, by the way, Dan Murrell did an absolutely incredible breakdown of Man of Steel versus Superman as far as the box office, and I think that Dan's point is so accurate. The TLDR, they basically did about the same, and that means they both underperformed. But even still, it's like, yeah, obviously I think Snyder stuff was doing way better internationally. Obviously, look at the numbers. So there's something about Zack's style, and there's something about it that would be absolutely incredible. And then you say, oh, but they'd never restore the Snyderverse. Cavill would never come back. Fuck out of here. I bet he would. Affleck would never come back. Oh, really? Have you noticed what's going on in Hollywood, guys? Have you noticed what's going on? I don't know. I think a lot of actors are probably more open to coming back to big roles, especially like ones that could, you know, get them a lot of money, right? So look, it's crazy. It's a fanboy dream, but I got to tell you this, like seriously, this would, because I remember. Do you guys remember when George Miller was going to do Justice League? We're about to talk about Man of Tomorrow and Gunn's plans, and it really seems like they're going full steam ahead. And it feels like we're going to get Man of Tomorrow, but it also felt like we were going to get George Miller's Justice League. And you know what happened then? I believe it was leadership change, or there was an acquisition or something, and then that movie gets killed, right? They had suits, they had shot footage. Like, dude, George Miller's Justice League was a real thing, and it went away completely. Whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the Nicolas Cage Superman, right? Like, if either Netflix, Paramount, or the Saudis buy, or Comcast, if they buy Warner Brothers within the next few weeks, nothing can stop them from canceling Man of Tomorrow and rebooting. That's what happened to the George Miller stuff. So this could happen, and if it happens, I think a lot of people would freak out. But I would not be one of them. I would cheer it, man. I would support it. I would make content about it. I think it would be absolutely epic and incredible. I'll never let go, Jack. Restore the Snyderverse. Okay, that's a pretty controversial, crazy topic. What do you guys think of that? Let's see what the chat has to say about this for a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next topic, which is still DC. We're going to talk about Man of Tomorrow. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, turn the gain down. Okay, I can turn it down a little bit. I say do both. One streaming, one theaters. Ooh, that could be interesting. I doubt they would do that. Yeah, I'm for it. Damn, Trev. That surprises me a little bit, buddy. But I guess you're probably feeling a lot of the same things I'm feeling. Terrible idea. Better off stoking the flame for sales offers. Maybe that's what they're doing, you know? Maybe that's what they're doing, yeah. Corn Sweat greater. I think Corn Sweat was a great Superman, and still is, if he still is. Did I miss the whiteboard? No, it's right here. Legend of Zelda leaked images. Yeah, we'll go over that in just a minute here. I want to kind of just see if there's any thoughts about the Zack stuff. I don't think it was a big outrage, Josh. The vocal minority will cry, but overall people will be happy and start celebrating. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it would be pretty crazy because I think a lot of people would be shocked, but frankly, people were shocked when they made Snyder's cut. You know what I mean? Somehow the Snyderverse has returned. I'm here for it. Much love. I would deadass be here for it. And by the way, I'm not trying to be like a butthole about it because I think Gunn has some good ideas. I think Man of Tomorrow is shaping up to be really cool, as we're about to get into. But I would prefer Zack. I mean, how is that? And by the way, a lot of people feel this way, dude. I would prefer Zack stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that hurt your fucking feelings? Like, what do you want me to do? I feel that way. You want me to hide that from you? You want me to act like that's not how I feel because of your feelings? Bro, I prefer Snyder's stuff. What do you want me to say? Yeah, that Zelda does look good. James Gunn's Superman is too goofy. No thanks. I think a lot of people feel that way. I don't necessarily feel that way, but I think a lot of people feel that way, yeah. Gunn's Superman was low T. Oh, God, maybe. I don't know. No, just happy you're not in charge. Sheesh. That's fair. Dude, that's fair. I think people are already tired of Gunn's universe. Gunn formula is getting old. Zack actually has interesting stuff to offer. I like Zack stuff because it feels more mythological, which always felt like a better fit for DC to me. You know, to me, it's always been like gods, pantheons. Like, it's very mythic. And Marvel's been more like realistic, like Peter struggles with rent and shit. It's a little bit more modern, right? And so in that sense, I always thought Zack's sensibilities were a better fit with what I liked about DC. I prefer Snyder stuff, but not everything in the DCU is good. If we limit to Superman, Batman, Justice League is fine by me. Yeah, I think that's fair. There was a lot of wackiness that happened there. But then again, it's like you look at what Warner Brothers was doing. There's a lot of shenanigans, dude. There's a lot of shenanigans. So how much of that was even Zack's fault? Blick Rick, appreciate the 5, says they should make James Gunn's universe animated like the extended stuff we were getting straight to DVD and streaming, and Zack stuff live action. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just, you think Gunn would go for that? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine? Hey, so listen, James, you get the cartoons. Hey, so listen, James, your shit's goofy anyway. Cartoons? Because that's what you got now. You know, it's like, and then maybe they could say, I mean, you started your whole shit with a cartoon, James. Now all of a sudden you don't like cartoons? Yeah, I don't know. That could be interesting. Ethan says, if Gunn's DCU wasn't all directed and so overly Gunn, I'd say continue. Now, though, restore the Snyderverse and just finish it in 2 or 3 movies. Yeah, no, I hear you. Look, dude, Gunn's universe has the opportunity to get a lot better and I think be a lot more spectacle and maybe even more mythic and all of that stuff. But like, I just can't help but feel that the biggest barrier to that is James Gunn. And until we see something that's not James Gunn, like Lanterns is a key data point of this whole experiment. Because if somehow, some way, the HBO Max Lanterns show is going to have that goofy ass dick joke energy, then it's over. It's over. Because what that means is everything in that universe is going to filter through James Gunn. And that's a problem. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. So I'm kind of concerned. I'm kind of concerned similarly. C Swerve says DC as a brand can't survive another reboot. I understand that. I understand the energy behind that. Lanterns and Supergirl. Yeah, but Liam, I mean, I think Supergirl is going to be like so James Gunn. You know what I mean? Like I hear you, brother, but I'm telling you, I think Supergirl's basically a lock to be really James Gunn. I mean, it's a drunk Supergirl on a galactic romp based off of the Tom King book with Jason Momoa Lobo. All of that is James Gunn. Like, that just feels so James Gunn. Are you kidding me? Sorry, let me go back to the other question here. DC as a brand can't survive another reboot. I think it can. I think we underestimate what a full reboot properly executed could do for a brand, because the truth is we haven't seen too many of them, especially with DC. I mean, even Gunn's reboot wasn't like that. Gunn wanted to bring in all his toys, everything he did, the Suicide Squad movie, the Peacemaker show, everything he liked was brought over in some weird level of continuity, and I think that was a mistake. I think that was a mistake. Now we'll see what's going on with Marvel. Marvel is kind of like a different thing, because frankly they're just not as damaged as these other brands, and they've had more success. I mean, you know what I mean? Anyway, but it's still fair even to the Marvel reboot to question whether the soft reboot is the move. We've had discussions about that. I think we'll have more discussions about that, because there's the question, right? The pros of it is the potential for new becomes a big part of the draw. But the downside is the investment from the folks that were in it before becomes diminished. And I don't know how you square that circle. That's a tough one. But we're watching a lot of this happen. Like, so as an extension of that, like Star Wars, I think Star Wars needs to hard reboot. Not like, oh, let's redo Luke Skywalker, but I'm saying like go 1,000 years into the future. Detach from everything that has come before. Like that I would welcome that with Star Wars, because I think Star Wars is becoming too much of the nostalgia well. You know what I mean? Like we get even ideas, like people say like, well, wouldn't you want to watch a Darth Vader show? I got to be honest with you, I don't even think I would. Now, if you sold me on a particular Darth Vader show that was like hard as nails and he was being badass and he was tearing people apart and the action was absolutely incredible, am I going to say that looks cool and I'll probably check it out? Yes. But dude, 5 years ago, you asked me about a Vader show, I would have flipped my shit and said, yes, please, here's all the ideas. 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, that'd be incredible. Here's all the ideas. Right now, I'm literally 50-50. Like, dude, I don't think I want a Vader show. And I'm sick of Disney being like, you like Darth Vader, don't you? Well, here's a Darth Vader show, you know? That shit ain't working. You know? So, I don't know. All of these franchises are facing similar questions. Audience sensibilities are changing. The way audiences engage with the franchises and the IP is changing. And we're watching them all handle it a bit differently. Some better than others. Right? So that's what it is there. It would be about Reva. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first part here. But you know what? It's not all bad news in DC land. DC fans, stand up. James Gunn fans, stand up. Because your boy might actually be cooking this time, okay? Let's get into this. So this is an exclusive over on Nexus Point News, who is very good. Man of Tomorrow casting description hints at new hero joining the DCU. What is it, like Plastic Doormat Man or some other random ass bullshit that James Gunn cooked up? Get the fuck out of my face. Okay, anyway, as announced last week, DC Studios is currently casting Brainiac, that's good, the lead villain of Man of Tomorrow. In addition, a new female role is cast to join the film. Sources tell Nexus Point News that a new female hero is being cast for the film. She's described as being in her late 20s and having an edge to her. What's interesting is there's a height requirement for the character, and they're looking for a taller actress. In addition, the character is being described as being a warrior and having a strong physique. All details point to this character being Wonder Woman, a character that has been highly requested by fans to make her debut in the DCU. Other potential candidates for this mysterious character would be Big Barda or Black Canary. I'll freak out if it's Black Canary. Big Barda would be dope, though. Like, I'll freak out in a bad way if it's Black Canary. Like, get that out of here. Wonder Woman appearance could also set her up to appear in her solo film, which is currently being written by the Supergirl writer. James Gunn has stated that the film is being fast-tracked. In addition, a prequel series titled Paradise Lost was in development for the DCU. Wonder Woman was created by William Moulton Marston and H.G. Peter and debuted in All-Star Comics #8 in 1941. Over the years, the character has been portrayed by Kathy Lee Crosby, Linda Carter, Adriana Pavlaki, and Gal Gadot in live action. Okay, so we got some other details in there, but here's the main thing. The movie's casting grids are going out. I explained this last week, but that's how a lot of these people are getting this info. Now, I think Nexus Point News is correct in assuming that the words on the actual documentation, on the actual casting grid, do point to attributes of Wonder Woman. And I do think it's important to point out that Zaslav has talked about Wonder Woman, that Gunn has talked about Wonder Woman. I think in a world where Matt Reeves refuses to give you his Batman and is also taking his sweet mother-loving time making his Batman, so your DCU Batman is probably got to not come out anytime soon. I think in that scenario, you look to the other part of the Trinity. The DC Trinity has always been Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. And if you don't have Batman and you have Superman, the other missing piece is Wonder Woman. And I think that, like, again, this almost feels like maybe Zaslav or people at Warner Brothers kind of pushing Gunn a little bit here because, frankly, I don't think he's really that interested in Wonder Woman. I think, we know his sensibilities. He's more interested in the obscure. But this is him playing ball again because, yes, they do need a big character. They need as many big characters as possible. And the character of Wonder Woman, Diana, especially being tall, being an Amazon, is so interesting because it could potentially tie back to like gods and monsters. It could potentially tie back to Brainiac things. Did Brainiac have interactions with other entities thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago? We know that Gunn set up a universe in which metahumans first appeared 300 years ago, but the gods and the old gods and the new gods, we would assume exist even further back than that 300, right? But he has a legacy. He has a timeline here, and Gods and Monsters is, it feels perennial. It feels like this is a story of things that have been out there pre-existing the metahumans. So I think all of that is fair. And I would say that this would be a really good move. I think this would add a lot of oomph to Man of Tomorrow. Diana's awesome. It could also have synergy with Diana appearing in other things. It could have synergy with her own solo movie. And then it allows her to be an important part of the whole thing as they move the story further and further forward. Now, one thing that people are questioning with this is, will it even happen? We're hearing about all of these things. Warner Brothers up for sale. And I think it's absolutely fair. It is the case that Gunn fast-tracked this film, and I think he fast-tracked it because of the sale. Some of you guys might think that's a low blow, like I'm hitting below the belt. I don't think so. I think that's probably fair, guys. I think he saw what was happening, and I think he fast-tracked this film. And I think two things. I think, number one, that's smart. I think either way, he should probably be fast-tracking movies, and so I'm not opposed to it, because we need the content and we need more DC stuff. You don't want to get in the position that Marvel's in, where it's like 5 years ago we saw Shang-Chi, everything feels like it's not actually focused, and you don't want that, right? So I think you need to get this shit out faster. Like I said when I heard about the Jimmy Olsen show, I was like, well, this is arguably a good idea. Execution is everything. And one thing they need this thing out fast, dude. They need this thing out by the end of next year. And then I think it works, right? So that's absolutely like a part of it. The other part of it is I think Gunn wants more on the scoreboard. And I think that that's fair. And I'm concerned about what the scoreboard's going to look like for Supergirl. And I'm concerned about what the scoreboard's going to look like for Lanterns. And I'm concerned about what the scoreboard's going to look like for Clayface. And so Man of Tomorrow already holds more promise to put up better numbers than any project that I just mentioned, and better than Superman. It's a sequel. It's bigger. It's building off of what has come before, right? And so it's possible that Jimmy Guns is not just creating a sequel to Superman, but he is creating a fire-ass spectacle sequel that is a learning curve for him as he understands the role, as he understands the audience, and realizes he has to cook better if he wants to stack the numbers in a way that justify the continued existence of his shared universe. So it's an interesting time. I think this is a good move, and I think it kind of hints at some of the other narratives that we've heard being correct. I would absolutely love, by the way, a Paradise Lost show, Game of Thrones style show about the Amazons. I always thought that was maybe one of the best things they had pitched. When they first came out and they were talking about all the DCU stuff, I thought Paradise Lost was one of the most fire ideas they had. And I'd still be excited to see that. And it could, because it feels very different than Gunn, you know what I mean? It could really tap into something special there. So, yeah, that's the story, chat. That's a story about Man of Tomorrow and the potential of Wonder Woman or Big Barda being cast in the film. I'm going to pull up the chat. What do you guys make of this shit, man? What do y'all think of this? Let me scroll up a little bit and see what you guys are saying. I need Flash redone. Oh, yeah. I mean, Flash is a really important character. I think there's been some damage there. I think they're a little reluctant to do it after that movie. But yes, I mean, I think Flash is obviously like an awesome character, and it would be great. It would be great to see that. We're gonna get Peacemaker whole arc before 2 of the big 3. I know. I mean, that's dead ass, but that's kind of the problem. Like that's part of the problem, and that hopefully is something that they're trying to address, right? All right, let's see here. We like female DC heroes here, says Boom Patrol. I know, I'm just joking around a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm somewhat of a shyster. I have a crazy sense of humor, and I'll say wild shit. But also, no girls allowed. Let's see. Maybe change the focus to Robin would be a cool point of view. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that still presents a lot of the similar problems, right? You don't want brand dilution or confusion with the fans. You know what I mean? DC will be rebooted anyway, so I don't care. Jesus Christ. I love your opinions on DC overall. Thanks, man. We're not even that far away from season 25 released and no one really talking about it anymore. It came and went. Nothing happened, and the continuous conversations are over. Yeah, I mean, I think it's... you can even see on social media some of the people that were really supportive of Superman kind of saying similar things. Ironically, some of them are content creators, and they're literally just not getting views anymore because Superman isn't popping. So it's been interesting for me to watch people be like, are we ever going to get back on the For You page with Superman content? And I'm like, I mean, maybe. You know what I mean? But look, I saw it happen too. Right out of Superman, dead ass, guys, this happened to me. Right out of Superman, I did a video, went over 100K, breaking down the whole timeline. A couple of weeks later, I did another video. It didn't even get to 10K. I was like, oh my God, where did the interest go for DC? So I think DC has had, you know, it's not even necessarily the case that it is Gunn's fault, but I think there's just been so many broken promises where people are so divided on what DC even is. What does it mean? Like, what do you expect when you go watch a DC thing? That, you know, some of that is playing into it as well. Yeah, it's kind of tough. After Peacemaker season 2 finale dropped, all DC views dropped. Yeah, that appears to be the case, which is a little bit of the Kenobi effect. And what I mean by that is, so Peacemaker season 2's finale was the most watched episode. It actually charted on Nielsen, which is an incredible accomplishment. But it was the worst reviewed episode ever. So ironically, the most people tuned in when it was the worst. And that happened with Kenobi. Kenobi has the most viewed, I believe to this day, Kenobi has the most views of any Disney Plus show ever. Now, there's all kinds of different ways that they talk about that metric, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know it got a lot of views. A lot of views. And yet, I think it's one of the worst things they ever made. So ironically, after Kenobi, you see this massive drop off in the Star Wars viewership on Disney Plus, and it's like fucking aggressive, dude. Like 30% lower, Mando season 3 opening and stuff like that. And it's just like, damn. So I think Peacemaker had a similar thing happen, man. You know, not all that glitters is gold. And sometimes like you can get a lot of views and it can be to your detriment. You know what I mean? It's weird. Hear me out. Rhea Ripley, Wonder Woman. What the fuck? Josh, Snyderverse has loads of movies lined up. New Gods, Justice League Dark, Batfleck Duology, Man of Steel 2, Wonder Woman Trilogy, Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman Trilogy, Deathstroke, Gotham City Sirens. Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Andrea Daddario as Wonder Woman would be sweet. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I still think live action Batman Beyond with Battinson and Keaton was a missed opportunity. Yeah, and that was going to be real too. Oh, yeah, a lot of swings and misses. Lots of swings and misses. Oh, I missed your member chat. Okay, brother. Griff says, if this overseas company buys Warner Brothers, how excited would you be for Rebel Moon 3? You son of a gun! Hell yeah, Rebel Moon 3. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Jesus, these Snyder bots don't quit. Are you calling me a Snyder bot, brother? Are you calling me a Snyder bot, bruh? The hell? Josh, who do you want Alan Ritson to play? I would like him as Brainiac. And I know people really don't like that pick, but I want my Brainiac to be jacked to the gills. I want a physicality. You know, so that's who I would want him to play. Kinda, yeah. Yo, am I a Snyder bot? Chat. Yes or no? Put it into the chat right now. Am I a Snyder bot? I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. That's a terrible casting choice. Oh, thanks. Yes, a bit. Yes. No. Yep. Yes. Honestly, yep. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, that's enough. We don't have to do this. Jesus. So anyway, Snyder! Restore the Snyderverse! And I'm glad we're all on the same page on that shit. Okay. All right. Okay, so we talked about that. Let's talk some Toby! Hey, Toby! Let's talk some Toby. And then we're getting on the whiteboard, baby. I mean, we're not actually going to get on the whiteboard, but you know. Oh, actually, let's talk Zelda. Let's talk Zelda briefly. Let me pull this up. Let's talk Zelda, then we'll talk Toby, then we're doing the whiteboard, okay? Hey, Toby! Check this shit out, chat. So let me explain what happened here, okay? So over the weekend, there were leaks from the set of Legend of Zelda. And I believe this movie is filming in New Zealand, very similar locations to where the Lord of the Rings movies filmed. Miyamoto has talked about working on this movie for years and years and years. AV Arad is involved. Sony's heavily involved. It's a really, really big deal for them. We knew about the casting. And ironically, I believe the casting happened in a similar way where there were leaks, probably due to casting grids. And then Nintendo saw that happening, got really mad about it, and then they confirmed publicly. Nintendo really doesn't like leaks, dude. I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you've ever seen any of their lawsuits. They really don't like that shit, okay? So Nintendo don't play. However, in an interesting, nice turn of fate, and I'd like to find the more high-def versions of these. Why are these such low-res versions here? This is weird. But we did get official reveals from Nintendo for the actual look of the movie. This is your look at Link. Okay. This is your look at Princess Zelda. This is your look at the two of them together. And I don't know about you guys, and I'd love to know what you think. But as far as I'm concerned, perfect. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. I saw the comment that I saw that I think summed it up perfectly was somebody on Twitter said they look like cosplayers and that means it's perfect. And so this is kind of a thing, not to go completely on a side tangent here, but like, bro, we've seen this shit with Hollywood for a while. Okay. Technically, this still happens to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you will have, let's say, a character like Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. And Marvel has their way of depicting Carol Danvers. And then you have cosplayers and fans that have their way of depicting Carol Danvers. And the difference is usually that the cosplayer actually loves the character and puts all of their time, energy, and really their heart and soul into creating a costume that allows them to become the character. Okay, subtle difference here. And by the way, we've seen this before with, like, remember when they did Apocalypse, the Fox X-Men movies did Apocalypse, and everybody brought up all the cosplayers that are way better. This happens a lot, you know? But it didn't happen here. And that's quite interesting. I can't help but think this is something to do with Miyamoto, maybe Wes Ball himself, obviously the costume department, the art team, creative directors. But whatever concoction of voices in the room led us to this place deserves some praise. This is truly cool. I'm really loving the look of this. I'm sort of extrapolating from this what a Ganon or a Ganondorf might look like. I am extrapolating from this what a Master Sword might look like, what a Temple of Time might look like, what an underwater temple might look like. You see? So this kind of a leak here, and then I guess the official promotion revealed, it really sets into the mind of the fans expectations of what the overall film will look like. And consider my expectations to be pretty high at this point. I always loved Zelda. I think these Zelda games, and you know, Zelda is unique in a sense to some of the other Nintendo brands, truly, because its own mythology is so big, and there have been so many great versions of the games. The games themselves have such iconic sounds, maps, art design, characters. Zelda is a franchise ripe for franchising and coming into live action and getting even more people into it. And, you know, so Nintendo is doing their stuff with the Illumination. You know, the Mario Galaxy movie is about to come out. Word on the street is they're doing a Donkey Kong movie, and maybe they want to do a Smash Bros. Movie with all of those characters, okay? And to me, the Mario movie worked really well because it felt quintessentially Mario. I think the characters of Mario work as cartoon characters. I think those ideas and concepts work in the form of animation. And at first I was a little bummed that maybe Zelda and Link wouldn't actually be involved in that because they appear to be live action, right? And that kind of means they, unless they're doing some Roger Rabbit shit, they're probably not going to take these characters into the Smash Bros. Movie or into those animated films. They could, but I doubt it. But what a smart move from Nintendo, from Sony, to recognize that this particular IP is a bit different than a lot of the other Nintendo IP and can work in a way that others cannot, mainly actual high fantasy. These movies could end up being Lord of the Rings level. I truly mean that. I truly believe that. I think the mythos is there. I think there's a built-in audience. There's a lot of people like myself. Like, I don't know the last time I played a Zelda game, but I love Zelda. I will definitely go see this movie. I'll take my son to see this movie. You know, like, I'm about this life. And I think there's probably a lot of fans that feel that way. I think these games have had a massive impact on a lot of folks in a similar way to Minecraft. So you could see some of that Minecraft energy coming in, except this is obviously a lot more serious, a lot more respected. Yeah, so I think, number one, I think they're absolutely cooking, dude. This gives us a nice visual palette. It can allow us to extrapolate out how these other things would look. I think the casting choices, I mean, we haven't heard them speak, but damn, these casting choices seem good, dude. With this makeup, with this costuming, this is perfect, dude. The next thing that's going to really pull this all together, guys, is the music. And the music in Zelda is incredible. Do we know who's doing the music for this movie? I gotta find this out, man. I would like to find out who's doing the music for the Legend of Zelda movie. Because that is a huge deal. Let us see. No composer has officially been announced. Some speculate that Koji Kondo, the longtime Zelda composer, might be involved in some capacity. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I found. I don't think they have an official composer, unless I'm missing it. Giacchino? Yeah, maybe. Okay, but let's see what you guys have to say about that. Let's start here with this $10 super chat from RM. Appreciate it, brother. Says, man, if they come out with a Smash Bros. Movie and have Cloud show up in a post-credit scene, take all my money. Dude, I think a lot of people feel similar to you. And it's a fan servicey thing that hasn't really been tapped into yet. We've spoken a lot about how the comic book genre seems diminished. And I think it sort of rode a wave to overexposure and to oversaturation. At the very least, the comic book genre thing needs to recalibrate, needs to consolidate, and I think needs to go for it with like spectacle. The video game adaptation stuff is certainly on the horizon as a big factor. I talk about the anime stuff a lot. I think anime is huge. Obviously, it's yet to be determined how big live action anime could be. The One Piece show is the best example of success of that so far. But video game films are on a similar trajectory. The Mario movie, the Sonic movies, the Last of Us TV show, the Fallout TV show. Video game adaptations are performing quite well. And it's obviously the case that a lot of fans have interacted with these games over the years, and that builds a relationship. It gives you a feeling of comfort, a feeling of nostalgia, a connection to these brands. That also serves as social proof for the normies. So the Fallout show, I think one of the reasons the Fallout show was so successful is because a lot of Fallout fans are out there telling people about it. Like, isn't that obvious? But think about what that really means. And I think that that's a thing that Marvel basically doesn't have anymore. So yeah, man, if they did a Cloud, if they do the Smash Bros. Movie, like, yeah, I'm telling you, these could be like $1 billion, $2 billion, like huge movies potentially. So yeah, I think that's a good point and a good question. Andrew Shark says, I need Mass Effect. Dude, I'm feeling you on that, dude. Mass Effect has the potential to be really good. A little concerning that they're going away from Commander Shepard. It's apparently a whole new story in a new galaxy. Don't know if I love that. That's what Star Wars needs right now. I don't know that that's what Mass Effect needs, especially because the first game has the best story. The first game's story is one of the best science fiction stories ever told, bro. When you find out what's really going on with that ship and that one homie that you've been fighting the whole time, holy shit. What a mindfuck. Orange Grove 55, what up, brother? Hope you're doing well out there. Super Smash 64 can have all my money. Yeah, it would be great, man. Yeah, it would be great. Greg, what up, brother? Hope you're doing well out there. Hans Zims. Oh, dude, if it's Hans Zims, that would be great. Oh, that'd be incredible. Yeah, that would be good. That would be real good. Ludwig earned his stripes as well. He can compose. Yeah, dude, Ludwig's awesome, of course. Absolutely. If they do Super Smash Bros. Movie, wouldn't be mad if they introduced the CGI Link that had nothing to do with the movie. Fair. I wouldn't be mad either, to be honest. You know, I'm kind of rolling the idea over in my head, but fuck it, bro. That's not a bad idea, bro. Thank you, Greg. I am having a good day, man. We're cooking on stream. And we haven't even got to the whiteboard yet. Oh, my God. Wait till we get to the whiteboard. Okay, one more story. Chat. Let's talk Toby. And let's do it quick. And then let's get into the whiteboard. And I'm going to put a coffee on after this because the whiteboard segment, we're going to need some caffeine for that. We're going to need some extra caffeine for that shit, okay? So, over the weekend, Daniel RPK reported that indeed Tobey Maguire will return as Spider-Man in Avengers Doomsday. You might be asking yourself, didn't we already know that? And yes, kind of, we did, insofar as we can. Technically, you still should take it with a grain of salt. Daniel's reporting this, and it could still be wrong, but let's be honest. we feel like this dude's in this movie, man. I'll tell you this. My Omega source, I kind of slipped this out. Like, after I was talking about the Ahsoka Season 2 leaks, I kind of let this slip. The Omega source told me that Toby's in the film. So I kind of broke that a couple of weeks before. But sometimes I actually don't want a lot of attention on some of the things that I'm saying. Like, I know that might seem weird, but just trust me. There's like some things you want to pop, some things you just want your community to know about, right? So anyway, I can confirm to you that the Omega source has told me that Toby's in the film. Okay, so that's incredible. First things first, how do we feel about this, right? I mean, I love it. I think it's brilliant. I will say that it brings into question what's going on with Tom Holland in the movie. Now, that's another ongoing conversation that we've been having over here at the community. So if you're just watching this clip, you're not super familiar with me or whatever, you know, we've been kind of talking about this sort of stuff. You might want to fucking like and subscribe if you want to stay in the know. But I'll try to explain the potential thing that's going on with Tom Holland as well. A lot of indication that Tom Holland's movie, his Spider-Man film, may well be happening either simultaneously to Doomsday or in such close proximity to Doomsday that that is a possible explanation for why Tom Holland will not be involved. I actually feel that Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be in Doomsday, but either like barely used or used in a post-credit scene or something like that. But I think it's also true to say that he is not the lead of the movie, which is weird because when Kang Dynasty was still happening, Tom Holland was the lead of that film. Okay. So some of the weirdness that's been going on with like Tom and Spider-Man and Secret Wars and Doomsday and all that shit could have actually been that at one time he was going to be the lead of Avengers 5 and now he's not in Avengers 5 and his agent's probably like, you know, like freaking out or whatever, right? That's kind of a crazy situation. But what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of indication that the majority of the story of Tom Holland's Spider-Man as it pertains to the multiverse collapsing is going to happen in the Spider-Man movie. I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on this, but this likely has to do with Sadie Sink's character, who is kind of rumored right now to be this Shathara character. I'm going to be real with you guys. I still think she's Jean Grey. In fact, I think she's a member of Doom's Cabal, and I think she's a Jean Grey that is purposely on Earth to fuck with the heroes, to weaken them, so that then the X-Men from the Fox X-Men universe can come in and attack 616, destroying various cities around the globe in the first act of Doomsday. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but yeah. So that's kind of a thing that I think is, I know, and it is weird. Like, you know, somebody in chat says, that sounds stupid as fuck. Hey, you're not wrong. To be honest with you, I haven't talked too much about Spider-Man because even I'm a little bit like, bro, what are they doing with Spider-Man? Like, I'm a little concerned about that one. But then again, Hulk, Punisher, you know, like how can you really go wrong with that kind of shit? So we'll see how it plays out. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I think Marvel decided to put a lot of the story in the Spider-Man movie for Tom. And I think they decided to utilize Toby heavily in Doomsday. Now, part of why this might have happened, and again, we're going to get into the whiteboard in a little bit because, dude, there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about with Doomsday. But it is seeming more and more like, with all the delays, and after they went away from Kang Dynasty, Kevin's probably like, you know, I wanted all the variants in Secret Wars. That was maybe the original plan. But now, I don't know that we can wait for that. We need them now. So I think that's why Toby's in this movie. I think that's why if Hugh Jackman is in the movie, which he'll be added in additional photography first, second quarter of next year. If he is in the movie, he will be added for the same reason. Yeah, I think they want to cook. I mean, you know, Magneto's going to be in this thing. Charles Xavier's going to be in this thing. A lot of the iconic heroes from the past are going to be in this thing. If the multiversal Avengers rumors are real, then we know a lot of these variants and just famous characters in general, like a Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, could possibly show up at the end of the film. The TVA might have their own army of variants ready to fight against Doctor Doom. So that, I think, kind of explains what's going on with Toby. Now, look, the next part of the Toby thing is... Oh, and here we go. So Trev says, Destin directing Spider-Man 4 was directing Kang Dynasty. Indicates to me that a lot of the story from Kang Dynasty was moved to Spider-Man 4. Yeah, and if that's the case, then Tillman is Kang and they're cooking in that. And I actually think that that could be true as well. But let me talk more about the Tobey thing now. So this caused a pretty strong fan reaction. I don't know if you saw it over the weekend. And Jay Silva, let me just address this real quick, and then I gotta yap, and then I'll touch the super chats, okay? But Jay Silva says, I hope that Tobey's Spider-Man doesn't die in Doomsday or Secret Wars so that we can get Spider-Man 4. Okay, that's actually a well-timed super chat, so thank you. Let's talk about that. Jay Silva is echoing the concerns of many fans. I saw many fans have that reaction over the weekend and into today. I don't know if you saw it, but I certainly saw it. A lot of fans are like, yo, you better not kill Tobey off in Doomsday. Oh, man, you better not kill off my boy in Doomsday. And I think the reason fans are thinking that is because just like Infinity War, it kind of feels like Doom's going to win in Doomsday. Like, maybe let's just ask this question to the chat. Guys, is Doctor Doom going to win in Doomsday? Yes or no? Just put it into the chat. Yes or no? Is Doctor Doom going to win in Avengers Doomsday? Yes or no? I think many people feel yes. So if that's the scenario that people think is going to happen, and look at all these yeses, this is crazy. So if that's how people are operating, and I think that's how people are operating, then obviously the next question is like, oh shit, are they going to kill Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? Okay. And what I will say to you is this. I don't think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man dies. But if you think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to have a good time in this movie, you're not understanding what this movie is, okay? So there's a lot of buzz around the possibility of Tobey's universe being destroyed in the film. And I don't know, maybe that's real, maybe that's not real. But in all reality, it sort of would track that if incursions are happening and we're going to end up in a place where there are 3 universes left and they are all going to collide and all be destroyed, and then the remnants of those universes and the people on them will become Battleworld, then that means a lot of universes are going to be destroyed either off screen before that happens or throughout the film. Another rumor that's out there, and trust me, hey, you see that? You see the whiteboard? We're almost there. We got a lot of juicy stuff to talk about. But one of the rumors that's quite interesting is this idea that the Fox X-Men universe is out there destroying universes. They've been destroying universes. What if it's them that destroys Peter Parker's universe? Tobey's universe, right? So I don't know that 100% that this is going to be what it is. But it is very possible that the cold open of the film is Tobey as Spider-Man, and he's just being chill, and then some crazy shit happens, and his universe starts to get attacked by either Fox X-Men, King Thanos, and Doom's Illuminati, or something else entirely. And I think at that point, Tobey would get pulled out by either the TVA or Loki himself or something. And then they would then be operating in like the B or the C plot of the film with the multiversal Avengers via the TVA trying to stand up to Doctor Doom. I also feel that Tobey will fight against Doctor Doom at the end of the movie, maybe on the Void, maybe in the TVA, perhaps on one of the remaining Earths. But I strongly feel that Tobey is going to get his shit rocked, dude. So he's gonna get messed up. And he might even be left for dead. He might even be dying by the time the movie ends. And then there's this other question of like, and I guess this gets into weird scenarios, weird things, right? But is it possibly the case that by the end of Doomsday, everybody's dead? Meaning Doom 1 slaughtered the multiversal Avengers. Slaughtered them. All the worlds, the Earths, destroyed. And everybody's like kind of everybody's dead. And then Doom, using the power of Franklin, the power of Loki and everything, takes all the variants, all that's left of those 3 universes, those Earths that just collided, and he smashes it all together, and then everybody's alive again. So it's like, in a sense, everybody might die and then get sort of brought back to life via Battleworld. Now, you know, does that mean he technically dies? Does he not technically die? I don't know, but I'll say this. I've heard Andrew and Tobey Maguire have a lot to do in Secret Wars, as does Tom Holland. And in fact, I believe Tobey and Andrew are going to fight Tom Holland, man. Maybe fight him in the symbiote suit, man. And it's like, yo, okay. So Tobey, multiversal Avenger, Doomsday, trying to stop Doom, trying to do all of that, ends up getting his ass kicked, ends up getting destroyed. But then he's kind of brought back on Battleworld, and he's either like working for God Emperor Doom, because the way I'm imagining this is it's based off a lot of like the Jonathan Hickman comic book stuff. So meaning everybody that's on Battleworld through Doom's magic will believe that Battleworld is all there ever was. And they will just believe that God Emperor Doom is God, and everybody serves Doom, all hail Doom, etc., etc. The characters that survive the collapse of the multiverse via the Life Raft, which will be retrofitted by Reed Richards and Shuri to survive the collapse of the multiverse by going into the quantum realm, those characters will remember the old universe, and I think Tom Holland will be among them. So what that would mean is if we pop up in Secret Wars, Tobey and Andrew are likely brainwashed and working for Doom, and Tom Holland is working for himself, possibly with the symbiote and the hive mind of Venom. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, dude, oh my God, they're kind of cooking. Like, that could be really, really cool. So, a lot of questions, of course, a lot that we still don't know, but this report getting confirmed by Daniel, it lines up with other things that I was told, especially by the Omega source. I think it lines up with a lot of stuff that are out there as far as rumors and speculation, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, on the one hand, it's like, oh, man, and RM, I appreciate that 50, brother. I'll get into that in just a minute, man. You know, on the one hand, it's like, okay, no Tom Holland, Spidey, and Doomsday, that hurts a little bit, but he's getting a whole movie that might happen as somewhat a prequel simultaneous thing. And then Tom Holland will be a big part of Secret Wars. So I actually like that. And again, you know, when it comes to Tobey and everything, like, dude, I think he's going to get his shit rocked. So last question for you in chat, and then I do want to know your thoughts overall on this situation. But last question in chat is this. How would you react to a Tobey Maguire spine rip? I'm not saying it's happening. But right now, I'm telling you, like, I don't think he's going to die. Like, he's going to be chilling and everything like that. Bro, how will fans react if Downey spine rips him? Tobey! Dude, yes, exactly. My back, dude, right? Oh, shit. So look, I'm just saying that's crazy and stuff like that, right? But like, these are the things they're operating with. Like, we could be seeing, because I think the Russos want to take us on a ride, bro. Like, they want to take us on a ride like they used to. And I think they want to pull at our heartstrings. I think they want to mess with us a little bit. I think they want to challenge us. And so cold open of the movie, Toby's sitting there. He's like, the kids are running around. Mary Jane's there making breakfast, and he's like messing with his back. And, you know, Kirsten Dunst is like, are you okay? And Toby's like, oh, it's just my back again. And then we hear Dr. Doom be like, maybe I can be of assistance. Bam! Spine rip! Holy shit. And then the Marvel fucking dun, 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 you know what I mean? Like, yo, like, that would be pretty cool. So anyway, let me address this $50 holler here, but also, what do you guys think of this Tobey story? This shit's crazy, huh? Okay, RM says with a $50 holla, damn, Josh, I'm nerding out with Smash Bros. Film. Imagine an adaptation where Mario needs to save Peach, but has to go through different games to get her. Mario finds himself in a side scroller like Turtles in Time, and then turn-based fights in Final Fantasy VII, etc. So what you're describing is really interesting, and I really like where your head's at, because the Mario movie took game mechanics and gave them as fan service in separate scenes throughout the film. And I actually thought that was one of the most brilliant things they did in the movie, which, by the way, can I just say, do you remember how bad the critics shit on Mario? And they're going to go way easy on Galaxies. This reminds me a lot of oh no, it's not The Last Jedi. Shit. No, it's Venom. Okay. I was making this point to my wife the other day. When Venom 1 came out, the critics shit all over it. And then it made like $870 million, almost $1 billion, okay? Then Venom 2 came out, and it's dog shit. But it had a higher critic score because the critics were like, okay, we kind of fucked up with the first one. Let's throw a bone to the fans. They do that. You don't think critics do that? They absolutely do that. Point I'm making is the first Mario movie got shit on by critics. And then the fans were like, yeah, we don't think so. And I'm wondering how much recalibration is going to go into Mario Galaxy. But anyway, what you're describing is something that I thought a lot of critics missed, where I was like, that's actually kind of a sophisticated execution. They took gameplay loops and turned them into fan servicey parts of the movie. I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Dude, a turn-based Final Fantasy fight as actual dialogue is going on the whole time, but they're constrained to that. Oh, dude, you're kind of cooking with gas there. That's a cool idea, bro. I kind of like that. Cool Bear says only Bully Maguire can defeat Doom. Jesus. I mean, that would be kind of funny. You know, I don't know if I'm about that life, but yeah. Appreciate the super chat. I just don't think it's going to happen. Toby is just going to join Doom's team early in the movie, and it really upset us. I think there's always the plan with Tom Holland. Dude, if he joins Doom's team early, that's a mindfuck too. Oh, man. I didn't even consider that. No, that would be worse than him dying. Yo, chat. Real talk. I'm kind of going to be rooting for Doctor Doom because, like, I'm such a Doom fan, right? But if Toby is going to work with Doom and, like, do that immediately, I think fans would react harsher to that than him dying. Where's Andrew in all of this? I don't really know. I just think Andrew's kind of being saved for Secret Wars, you know? He will heel turn. He's Spider-Man's. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Now that I think would challenge fans, man. That would absolutely challenge some fans. Wow. We whiteboarding it up yet? Well, I'll tell you what, chat. Let me go put on a cup of coffee, okay? Let me go put on a cup of coffee. And then we can whiteboard this shit. Okay? Let me put on a cup of coffee and then we'll whiteboard this shit. I'll pull something up for you to fight about. What the hell? I'll pull something up for you guys to fight about while I go make this coffee. Give me just a minute or two. I'll be right back. Oh. Oh man. What'd you guys are you fighting about this? What do you guys think about this? I don't know if you saw all the back and forth on this conversation over the weekend. I have like I said, I have a big video. It should drop tomorrow. It's like 27 minutes explaining all the shit. Kupacha says, have we considered the idea that the multiversal Avengers might be assembled by Doom and not the TVA? Which could be why there's so much talk of evil Avengers. Oh, yes, I've thought about that too. I mean, one of the main things that I think is cool about Doomsday is I think Marvel's still hiding secrets, dude. I think they've actually figured out a pretty sophisticated way to do these secrets. Oh, Rob was calling? Ain't no way. No, I don't think so. But look, you know, I would love to have a talk with Rob, and I think we should soon. But let me cook on this whiteboard for a little bit. This is going to get crazy, okay? So let me take a couple more sips of coffee. Oh, I missed Rob. Ain't no way he came in when I was going to get coffee. Well, look, I'd love to have a convo with Rob, and also Rob, I'd love to play some Deadpool VR with you, bro. I'll bring the VR headset down. You know what I mean? Like I'll fly down to Denver. Let's play some Deadpool VR together. I think that would be really fun. RM says, if Doom unleashes a Miles Morales on Toby. So Miles is kind of interesting. You know, there's a lot. The reality is this, guys. RM, I really appreciate the love, brother. I don't think you're getting Miles. The last that Marvel officially commented on this was they're waiting for Sony's thing. So Sony's next animated thing is when you're going to see Miles next. And Disney doesn't, and I think it's really Sony, they don't want Miles in live action to overshadow that. So Sony's basically telling them, hell no. Nah. So, yeah. Shitty question. Are there normal people on Battleworld after Doom creates everything, or just superheroes in the comics? Normal people. I mean, there's billions of people on all of those planets. So there would be a lot of regular ass people on Battleworld, I think. Andrew, that is possible, but I got to be honest, I don't think so, brother. I think that's happening in the future Tom Holland Johns. Like, I think that's a big thing that Tom wants to do. But no, I think until that animated movie comes out, you're not getting it. Where the hell has Anthony Russo been? You know, I don't know. I don't know. Optimistic Prime, I have no idea what you're talking about, brother. Variants of Earth destroyed heroes that were off planet to get dusted like Infinity War. Yeah. Something like that could be interesting. Yeah. Andrew Garfield versus Tom Hardy, Venom in Secret Wars. That would be fun. That would certainly be fun. Okay, guys. I have a really interesting, at least I think you will find it to be very interesting, presentation, whiteboard stream about Doomsday. So I'm going to yap for a while. I'm going to write some stuff down. By the way, I can't spell, and my writing is terrible. So I don't know why we do whiteboard streams. You guys seem to enjoy it, though. So feel free to make fun of me when I write something that looks terrible or I misspell something. It will happen. Okay. So, you know, let me start by asking you guys just a general question about Avengers Doomsday. Why do you think Marvel is making Avengers Doomsday? Let's start there. And throw a couple of your answers in there, and then I'll start cooking. Because a who, what, where, when, why is kind of a cool structure to kind of get some things started here, but you'll see where I'm going. Your handwriting sucks. Because of money, spectacle, because of majors. That's actually a really interesting answer from Trev. This guy just wants a gold star. He's just showing off. To make a lot more money? Yeah. To cap their story and start fresh. Ooh, okay. So some of you are actually picking up on the things that I'm going to say about this. When we say Rob, we meant Robert Downey Jr. called. What? 2 billion at the box office. Yeah. Okay, so you know what we're really asking, guys? So we're asking, like, what even is Doomsday? But maybe what we're really asking is the first question here. Why is Doomsday? A little bit of why Gamora energy here, okay? And I'm going to tell you the first reason, which I think basically everybody misses, but it's actually really, really important. And that is, we'll go end game follow-up. Okay. Now, let me explain this. When I talk about Doomsday, I'm really talking about Doomsday and Secret Wars. We're going to get specifically into Doomsday a lot in this whiteboard session, but what I'm trying to say with this first point here is that there's a reason that when I walked out of Avengers Endgame, I told my community that Secret Wars was next, okay? And by the way, I'm old enough to remember, and I wonder if you guys, how many of y'all were there? Just out of curiosity, how many of y'all were there for the run that we had between Infinity War and Endgame, and then after Endgame? Just throw a 1 into the chat if you were here for that. Because of course it was a crazy time. I had the most growth I ever had on the channel. You know, look, this always happens. If you're a Minecraft channel, when the Minecraft movie pops off, you're going to get a huge pop. If you're a Sonic channel, the Sonic movie, like it just makes sense, right? Oh, wow. A lot of you were. Okay. So you guys will recall that I was one of the first people to say Secret Wars is next. And in fact, it kind of became a meme because it almost always becomes a meme with me because maybe just because I'm neurodivergent and I get really hyper fixated on things. But like, I wouldn't shut up about Secret Wars. And this was before it was officially announced. And in fact, in 2020, I did a podcast with Charles Murphy. Charles Murphy doesn't really do podcasts anymore, okay? But he came on this little channel and did a live stream or a podcast interview with me. And on that podcast, we discussed Secret Wars because Charles, just like myself, saw that Secret Wars was the next thing coming. Now, that would later get confirmed by all sorts of rumors and scoops and blah, blah, blah. But the thing I want you to really focus on is, why did I think Secret Wars was next? And why did Charles think Secret Wars was next? Why did so many people think Secret Wars was next? Partially, maybe, yes, it's because the Russos wouldn't shut up about it. But the main reason is this. Endgame represents, from the production perspective, one of the biggest movies ever made. And part of why it worked was it was a film that was able to utilize and leverage the library of content that it had before it via the time heist. And it was able to bring all of these characters on screen that had been in various other movies spread out throughout the 10 plus years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in all kinds of different things. Endgame was this really brilliant vehicle to accomplish everything that the studio wanted to accomplish. What did they want to accomplish? Let's take this huge franchise with all of these different characters and bring all the characters together. Let's figure out a way to take our main cast through a time-traveling nostalgia fest where we give the fans all these awesome memories of all the content that brought them to this point, okay? And ultimately then, of course, end in this really crazy spectacle way where it's all the characters coming together and fighting, okay? Now listen, Linda, because the main reason that I and many others believed that Secret Wars was next because it is the natural next step. It is the natural extension of this way of thinking. Meaning, if Endgame is a vehicle that could take all the characters in this massive franchise and bring them together, and Endgame was a vehicle that would allow us to revisit nostalgic memories from 10 plus years of films, kind of paying homage to it and creating this really fun nostalgia ride, then Secret Wars is that on steroids. Because Secret Wars can do that, except instead of just being the vehicle for an individual universe or an individual franchise or an individual studio, Secret Wars represented the possibility of doing a time heist through all Marvel movies that ever existed. It also is a vehicle to bring all the coolest Marvel characters that ever existed into one singular movie. Okay? Now, the reason this is so important is because that's a piece a lot of motherfuckers miss. And because they miss this, there's no anchoring or framework from which that they can understand why Marvel is even doing this. But that was always the plan. And in fact, I believe personally, and I have some evidence to support this as well. I have some evidence to support that, like, bro, they knew this then. They actually knew this when they were cooking up Age of Ultron. Like, they were building these plans even back then. And it kind of makes sense, right? Where you're like, okay, this was the vehicle, these were the story mechanics, this was the writing that allowed us to have all these nice things that we wanted. Oh my God, we could do that times 10 with all Marvel stuff that ever existed, especially because we just got all the Fox stuff back, right? So that's the thought process. So that's actually the first reason that you have Secret Wars or Doomsday just in general overall. But I would also say that another reason that a lot of people are missing reboot. You have to realize that the resetting or the rebooting of the Marvel Universe was always inherently caked into the Secret Wars idea. And the Multiverse Saga itself was a concept to explain in a sort of meta-contextual way why different universes and really different franchises of movies that people had seen over the last 35 years had universes where there were only the Spider-Man, or had universes where Doctor Doom didn't know shit about magic, or like, why were all these Marvel things so different? And why was there never a world or a universe in which you had, just like the Marvel comics, all the characters together kind of acting like the way we would expect? Well, Feige always wanted a consolidated, accurate Marvel universe, okay? And we know this partially because there was an archived, unrevealed, or I guess unsealed footage from Iron Man 1, where Nick Fury, in that version of the post-credit scene, which was written by Brian Michael Bendis, by the way, in the versions of that post-credit scene, there's a version where Nick Fury is literally talking about Spider-Man, mutants, all kinds of crazy shit. Remember, too, that the Oscorp Tower was originally supposed to be in the skyline of the very first Avengers movie, and on and on and on. Kevin has always wanted all the Marvel characters in the same universe, and he made it happen a bit with the Spider-Man deal. Like, a lot of people don't realize how unprecedented and crazy that Spider-Man Sony deal was. There's no incentive for Sony to do that at all. They just like, we're like, but it'll be cool because he'll be in the MCU and people will like that. And like, they made it work, right? But even that deal gives you insight into the thinking of Kevin Feige. He's always wanted all of those characters together. And so when they got the Fox X-Men universe, like, do you remember these reports in 2019 or 2020 where Kevin said, we have a 5-year plan and then we'll talk X-Men and stuff like that, right? So to me, all of that is lining up to explain this second point here. So I think a lot of folks kind of miss that. Why Doomsday? Well, of course, to make money. Sure, but they were always going to do big movies. They were always going to try to follow it up and make big money. Why does Doomsday exist? Well, you know, Kang Dynasty and what happened with Kang, and we will get into that, of course, because that's important to understanding the story as well. Sure, that's a part of it. But understand that the Multiverse Saga itself, the plans of Phase 4 and 5, and ultimately the plans for Secret Wars, was really done for two reasons. It was done as an endgame follow-up. Producer Kevin Feige saw the opportunity to double down on what he had done in Endgame, but utilize the entire Marvel catalog, and that's a brilliant idea. A lot of others saw it coming as well. And to reboot, reset, or retool the current canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think those are the two actual primary reasons that Secret Wars exist. Okay, now let's talk about the timeline and let's talk about Kang. Okay, let me take a sip here. Well, I guess first, any questions about that before we move on? Any questions on that part? Is what I'm saying making sense to you guys? Like, do you get that? Because Tony had to snap the gauntlet because Doom always existed. Oh, wow. Some of you guys are going crazy. Beyond is reporting December 8th for the trailer. If the 5th is Friday, so that would be Monday. Ooh, okay. Okay, yeah, that could track. Yeah. Yes, I love it. Yes, it makes sense. Yes, yeesh. Okay, great. Incredible. Okay, so now let's talk about the original plan with Kang. Why? Oh, jeez. Oh, no, I've ruined it. Why Doom and not Kang? Look, this one I think is a little bit more obvious, although there are details here that I think a lot of people miss. So, as far as I understand it, chat, and frankly, like, I follow it. You know what I mean? I feel like I do pretty good at this stuff, so I follow it. I'm not always right, but I have a pretty good memory. Hyperfixate on this stuff. So, let's try to get something out of the TISM, right? As far as I understand it, the plan was indeed to have Jonathan Majors play Kang, who would be a variant that existed before this version of the multiverse and was indeed the curator of what we would come to know as the sacred timeline. Okay? And this plan was to sort of utilize this interesting character of Kang in a way that would allow for Marvel Cinematic Universe fans to begin to realize that this, the reboot, was necessary because the version of the multiverse we were currently living in was false. It was a false reality. Now, a lot of these ideas do actually show up in Endgame because I think it was purposely being built as sort of the precursor to a lot of this, right? But that's like the basic idea. Now, obviously, Phase 4 and 5 do not go well. There are many reasons why. There's the pandemic and the lockdowns and all of that sort of stuff, right? There was them doing Disney Plus stuff without fucking showrunners and knowing how to do television. Okay? There was Bob Iger and Bob Chapek double teaming Marvel Studios, forcing them to release stuff before it was ready. This has actually really recently been revealed by Alex Perez and some others. And it tracks with the story that we just heard about Bob Iger in the Ben Solo movie. On a small aside here, writer's strike, absolutely, Stormy. By the way, it's great to see you, Stormy. I hope you're doing well, man. As a small aside to that story, I want you to think back to when, in the Vanity Fair article, Robert Downey Jr. outlines accepting the role of Doom, liking the idea with Kevin Feige, but then they both needed to pitch the idea to Bob Iger. Do you remember that article? In the context of the Ben Solo situation, that article makes a lot more sense. Basically, crazy ass ideas like taking the greatest hero that we ever had and turning him into the greatest villain ever, or taking Ben Solo, a character that was dead, and bringing him back to life. Crazy ass ideas like that need to go through Bob Iger. And it's becoming more and more clear that Iger was kind of not great at that shit and was hurting all the franchises under the Disney umbrella. This includes Star Wars. This includes Marvel. Now, obviously, Kathleen Kennedy has culpability. Kevin Feige has culpability. I'm not saying that they don't. But what I'm saying is it's actually becoming pretty clear now that this was not the way it was supposed to go. This was not what Kevin wanted to do. And a lot of this was probably forced by Iger. And it just becomes fucking chaotic, okay? But it gets to a point where they release Quantumania. Okay, now this part's really important because there's a lot that's said about Majors and him getting in trouble and all of that sort of stuff, and we're going to talk about it. but there's very good reporting to suggest that the performance of the Quantumania movie really shocked Marvel internally and made them reconsider Kang's role in the future of the franchise, but mostly for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, okay? Then Major gets in trouble. Okay, then there's like a long period, I think it's like 9 months before sentencing. And from what we understand, and this came out from like other people like Daniel, people like Tatiana Siegel, people like Jeff Snyder, many other folks were reporting about this stuff as well. It is at that time that the plan begins to be recalibrated. Do you remember reports from Daniel saying that all of a sudden Kang Dynasty is about to become a lot more multiversal? And Daniel was, you know, he was very reluctant to say they were going away from Kang, but at one point he admitted that another villain was being added. Tatiana Siegel herself, around the time of the Daredevil show being delayed, came out and said that she had heard about Doom and the pivot to Doom. Joanna Robinson had hinted a couple of times in her podcast that it was going to be Doom. Okay. And one of the reasons I remember this is because I was talking about it, because if you remember, I was a big proponent of shifting away from Kang to Doctor Doom. And by the way, this was actually before Majors got in trouble. A lot of people hated me for this and my take on this, but dude, Kang sucks, bro. I'm sorry, he does. And he sucks in the comics and he sucked in live action. Like, he was kind of cool at the end of Loki season 1. Every appearance after that sucked balls. One of the other things that's really important to keep in mind is that the ending of Loki season 2 was changed. And we know this from the Cosmic Circus. Alex Perez reported that the ending for Loki season 2 had been changed and that it was a way to wrap up the story of the character of Kang. And in that show, at the end, they're basically like, yeah, he fought the Avengers, but they handled that shit. And now that the movie underperformed, we're never going to mention his ass again. You know what I mean? You remember that scene at the end of the show? So what I'm saying to you is there was a pivot away from Kang that was already happening and a pivot towards Doctor Doom that had already been happening. Now, there's some evidence that Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom was always going to be in Secret Wars. Okay? Part of the reason we feel this is that Jeff Snyder reported around the same time that the Tatiana Siegel article was out there. Jeff Snyder reported that his best source told him that Doom was always the villain of Secret Wars. Not a villain, the villain of Secret Wars. Now, that's a report, but the idea was already out there because Doom sort of always is the lead of Secret Wars. Kang's never the lead of Secret Wars. And in fact, there are versions of Secret Wars where Kang gets shit on by Doom, right? So most big comic heads always thought it was going to be Doom, okay? But then those reports start coming out. Snyder's starting to say what it is. Now, due to some reporting from Alex Perez, we have a much more clear picture of what this was going to be. According to Perez, Doom would have probably popped up in Secret Wars, although Alex has never specifically said that. It's implied that what he was saying was Doom would be in Secret Wars, and he would show up as one of these elements that had been removed from the sacred timeline by He Who Remains. That He Who Remains had separated out the mutants and Doctor Doom from the sacred timeline, and at some point they were going to pop back up with a vengeance. And essentially, like, Alex sort of teased that it might well be the case that we would have understood what He Who Remains was trying to say, because like Doom was going to be so evil and dark that we were like, yo, maybe he shouldn't be in the timeline at all. That kind of energy, right? And then they went as far as to say that the next saga, guys, literally the next saga, the X-Men saga, was going to be about Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom was going to come back as the big bad. And so the idea of Downey as Doom was very likely going to be an element of Secret Wars and then expanded upon in the Mutant Saga as he became the big bad of the overall multiverse. So what happened? Why Doom and not Kang? Well, what Marvel decided to do was take that plan that I had just described to you and front load it into the Kang dynasty. They decided, well, instead of having this Kang thing play out and then we reveal that Downey was always Doom and then we bring an evil Doom in and we're going to do that in the future, let's actually just have Kang fuck around in the Loki show and end that. And then we'll bring that Doom concept front and center in the Doomsday movie. And as far as I understand it, that's what happened, guys. So that's a really important part of understanding what's going on with Doomsday as well. I now want to answer a few questions. I think I'm yapping a lot and we've already gotten into some really crazy territory, but what do you think? Like, what, any thoughts on that? Or is like, are we kind of tracking? You kind of get what I'm saying? My name is Dome. Who has the golden mask? I think a lot of people have golden masks in the movie, frankly. Because they would have, under the guise of, well, of course Downey is coming back for KD Secret Wars as an Iron Man variant, nobody would have thought Doom. Yes, I think that's probably what it is, yeah. All you say is correct. Hey, thank you, Stormy. Tracking. Okay, great. He said the thing. I don't know what that means, but yes. Christian Harloff is talking about the Snyderverse returning on stream right now, and he gave you a shout out for calling the Saudi thing. Well, I appreciate that, Christian. Thank you very much. Christian's been spot on as well. You know, one of the reasons us indie guys are kind of sticking together in the space right now is that the trades are kind of trying to act like we don't exist. So whether it's Demet over at Nexus Point News, or it's Christian Harloff, or it's John Roca, or it's Jeff Snyder, the big money institutional power trade journals are trying to act like we don't know what we're talking about. And so I like to give credit to all of these people, even if they don't like me. Like, I would imagine Demet doesn't necessarily have a positive opinion of me, and that's fine. But like, I'm a principled thinker. Like, I think that shit really matters. So shout out to Christian. I really appreciate that, brother. And I'll continue to give you credit too, because these people want to act like we don't know what's going on. And that's just not true. We know what's going on. Okay. Should we get into the next piece here? Should we get into the next piece here? Let's talk teams. I think maybe we erase this and we start over. I'm kind of running out of room here. Council of Dooms. I think Council of Dooms is a thing. Yeah. I'm going to probably erase some shit and let's keep going, okay? Okay. Next up, we now know what even is, and we know why. Next, let's ask who. Who? So, I think we probably got to. Well, let's just have fun. Let's just kind of list it out, okay? Mr. Jazz, thank you for the 10, brother. It says, I was worried about how well Doomsday would do, but since they confirmed Toby news, I now have no doubt it will be a Billy. Also, can you bet your ass he will be in the upcoming trailer? Thoughts? I don't know that it'll be in the trailer. I haven't heard anything about that. I could ask around. Sometimes I don't like to push my luck, though. You know what I mean? I like, let's just keep it even keel or whatever. Screen Rant put out a 3.5-minute video about the Kang Dynasty. We dodged a bullet. The concepts they described were horrendous. Nerd Avengers for Life Basement Crew. Oh, yeah? Okay, so I hadn't seen that. I've heard a lot about what was going to be in Kang Dynasty, but also remember, that was a movie that changed a lot. And Marvel was actively kind of trying to hybrid that movie. Because, look, here's another thing, and I don't even know if I should say this, but I'll just say it. I was told Disney was shocked at the verdict for Majors. I was told Disney thought Majors would be acquitted. So there was a plan to have him still a part of it and still pivot maybe to Doom. But that went away after the conviction. So, meaning Doomsday went through a lot of, or Kang Dynasty went through a lot of changes, right? Hang on, what's this one here? VTJ Productions, appreciate you, brother, says Secret Wars final battle should be Iron Man, Cap, Reed, Toby, Wolverine versus Doom, Red Skull, Thanos, Defoe, Goblin, and Magneto. Goddamn, bro. I can only get so erect, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, dude, that's what we're all hoping for, is like insane, crazy, awesome shit like that, okay? So let's talk about the Who. Let's go number one, Doctor Doom. This is obvious, but also there's more to it. So we have also Doom variants. So a lot of reporting on this over the past couple of weeks. Feels as though there's a lot of Doom variants in the movie, potentially either acting as Doom bots or somewhat of a cult or a cabal. You guys have heard me speak about this. I do think there's some, female variants, but they're not really variants. I actually think they're like Clea, maybe a Jean Grey, and Sylvie, but we're not really sure. But yes, indication that there are female Doom cult members in gold masks. Okay. On top of that, we've heard of the variants that are going to look like RDJ. There's a variant that has horns. There's a lot of different Doom variants in this movie, right? So you've got Doom variants, but then you also have Doom's Illuminati. Doom's Illuminati. Okay, now this would include characters, and there have been a lot of rumors about this. We don't know for sure, but there's been like a lot of rumors. So this would be like your King Thanos. This would be your Maestro Hulk. This would be the rumors of a Hydra Cap, which, by the way, Hydra Cap, although a lot of people say is not in the film, I still think could be in the film. I actually think the scoopers are getting a lot of shit wrong right now. That's kind of embedded in the thinking that I have. And I think the Russos are being incredibly clever with how they have built all of this and the production and the scripts and everything, okay? But, so Doom's Illuminati, all kinds of characters that this could include. I mean, this could even include your Doc Strange, your Clea, and the Black Priests, right? This is going to include Sylvie. This is going to include, potentially that Maestro Hulk, King Thanos, evil Black Widow, evil Captain America, evil variants out there, right? So we've got Doom's Illuminati. Anything else connected to Doom here? Anything else connected to Doom? I'm not really sure. Next up, Avengers. Avengers. It's an Avengers movie, guys. You know what I mean? And just like in Infinity War and Endgame, you're going to have people that are technically not Avengers fighting alongside the Avengers. Kamala Doom and Gaia Doom. Jesus Christ. So, the Guardians are technically Avengers in Endgame. Wakanda, they're all Avengers in Endgame. Like, everybody comes together, right, and fights. So you'll probably have a lot of that energy as well. But let's be real, there's also like actual Avengers that are going to be in this thing. So first of all, we'll say 616 heroes. Now, this technically will be your Avengers, the new Avengers, and it'll be Sam Wilson's team. We have heard a lot of how they're going to be at odds with each other, and there's difficult things going on there. But this could also include like people from the Raft, like Red Hulk and others that have been imprisoned that then are let out to aid the Avengers members. Okay. So a large portion of characters from 616 in general could be considered your Avengers, but there's also multiversal Avengers. Now, this would include your Tobys. This would include potentially Nomad Captain America, Steve Rogers. This could include Loki. This could include X-23, Deadpool, Wolverine. This could include Gambit. This could include many different characters that the TVA would recruit to be the multiversal Avengers. I mean, the rumors right now, by the way, are that you'll have Steve Rogers and Thor leading like entire armies of variants of themselves. And one of the things that's kind of crazy here is there's a lot of buzz about this idea that when Loki decided to hold the multiverse together, okay? And at the end of time, when Loki's holding the thing together and creates the tree, that what that essentially allowed is for more variants than ever to exist. What that means is, as opposed to, I don't know, let's say hundreds of Captain America variants out there in the multiverse, you might have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of variants of Captain America, because they're no longer pruning any of the branches. Loki is holding it all together, and a lot of different choices and a lot of different things could create alternate timelines. I think that might have been, it was either his goal or it was a side effect of his goal. And so now you're going to have more multiverses than ever, but of course, a lot of them are going to die. Now, going back to the Toby thing, which we talked about earlier today, right? Some indication that what's going to happen is Toby's universe will be destroyed, and he is then recruited by the TVA, pulled out of that, and then he's going to fight against who? Dr. Doom and his army, right? So you can see how all of this is building together, and I think the multiversal Avengers is going to be like a big part of that. But there's one more here, potentially. Dark Avengers. So, let me yap about this shit. One of the very first rumors that Paul from Heavy Spoilers discussed, which like Paul, he doesn't really like cover spoilers and leaks as much anymore. You know, he's really pivoted more into his classic movie breakdowns. And I mean, I love Paul, and he's incredibly successful, very smart. He knows what's going on in YouTube. But he started off as Definition, and he started off as Heavy Spoilers. Okay, and I know that Paul has good sources. Okay, so Paul, one of the very first things he scooped about Doomsday, actually he said it was Secret Wars, was that there would be an evil variant of Natasha, that Scarlett Johansson is indeed returning, which by the way is crazy. There's still a lot of debate on whether or not she's actually in the film. But they say, Paul originally said yes. And he said the idea was that Yelena would see her sister, and Yelena would have positive feelings and want to console her sister or be consoled by her sister. And then the other shoe would drop and you would realize, oh, this isn't my sister. This is a evil variant of my sister. Okay. The Hydra Captain America rumors are out there as well. And in fact, there was a time when Alex Perez literally reported that Chris Evans would have dual roles in the film, and one of those roles would see him working with Doctor Doom. Now, I want to be completely clear and transparent with you. A lot of the scoopers nowadays, I guess you would call them the usual suspects, let's say, like My Time to Shine and Daniel, and Alex as well, I think, they have all thrown a lot of cold water on the idea of evil Avengers. So like, you know, Shine just straight up told me like, no Hydra Cap, not in this movie. Maybe in Secret Wars, not in Doomsday. Okay. But I continue to believe, and this is just kind of based on a lot of the research I'm doing and what I'm hearing, that the scoopers are wrong or lying about a lot of shit. Okay. So now I'll tell you like a scenario that I think could happen at the end of the film. So imagine we're at the end of the film. And by the way, this is after Doom has already went to the house of Peggy and Steve and tried to kill them and was unsuccessful, right? RM, I will get into that in just a second, brother. So this would be after that. So imagine we're at the end of time. Doom's full plan has been revealed. He's taking over everything. He's destroying the entire multiverse. And then who's there to stand up next to him? The Multiversal Avengers. Thor and Cap show up with an army of variants of Thor and Captain America. And then Doom says some shit like, oh, you thought only good variants of yourselves were created? Unfortunately, you should have pruned all the branches, Steve. For now you face infinite darkness. And so fucking portals open and fucking Hydra Captain America comes through on a shield helicarrier. Holy shit. Okay. Now, that's some fanboy dreaming. Okay. That's some fanboy dreaming. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But what I am saying is, the more I think about it, the more I think it could be the case that those old rumors were real, but they've been hidden by a lot of the new rumors. And one of the things that's going on with Doomsday just in general is that it's so crazy and there's so many rumors, it's hard to keep track of. So a lot of people are just like checked out. Like a lot of people just, they look at the pile of rumors. Maybe they even look at this whiteboard stream here and they're like, bro, I can't follow all that shit. You're talking about this, you're talking about that. What the fuck? You don't know what you're talking about. And I think that that's on purpose. I think they're trying to confuse people. I think they want so much information out there, and we keep going back and forth on this, and then this gets confirmed, and then this is not confirmed, this, that, second, and the third. I think it's all there to service to hide and obfuscate what is actually happening. So what I'm telling you is this. I actually think it's possible that Hydra, Captain America, and the evil Avengers are still absolutely a part of this film. And maybe they would be hidden until the very end of the movie and come out as some kind of a portal situation from Endgame. But all the Dark Avengers then are the ones that are going to fight against all of the real multiversal Avengers at the end of the movie, okay? And that shit would be fucking crazy if that happened. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there as a possibility because folks still don't necessarily believe that that's real. But I think it's possible, okay? All right, let me get this super chat here, and then we're going to talk X-Men. RM says, Josh, have you heard through your sources over the years why Marvel stopped prioritizing cohesive post-credit scenes? I noticed when that stopped, excitement began to fade. The understanding I have of this is that it is tied to a lot of the problems that just hurt Phase 4 and 5 in general, meaning tried to do too much, had to scramble, Bob Iger's making them release a bunch of stuff that's kind of weird, and they just lose track of everything. So I think that's what it is. Now, I actually think a lot of those post-credit scenes will still matter, which sounds crazy, but I actually think they will. And that's part of what the Russos are trying to do is like make it make sense. You know what I mean? Okay, let's talk X-Men. Or wait, any questions about all of this yet? Any questions yet? So we've talked Doctor Doom, we've talked Avengers, we're going to talk X-Men, and then we're going to talk Fantastic Four. Okay? Dude, reverse portal scene goes hard. It would go hard, man. Oh, it would go hard. Can you explain how Steve is going back in time messed with another universe impacted Doom's world? Sure. I mean, so there's a very simple explanation and then there's a more complicated explanation. The simple explanation is in Endgame, and we're going to go back. By the way, we're working on a video series, dude, that like, if you're into this shit, I'm going to make 50 videos over the next 2 years that I think will be the best content I've ever made that will literally serve as recapping 50 different Marvel movies through the lens of this whole conversation. Okay. And the best one will probably be the Endgame one, which we'll save for last, like kind of like right before Secret Wars, maybe right before Doomsday. But here's my explanation for you. When you watch Endgame, Hulk tells Steve when he gets on the time platform, you have to put the stones back in the exact same time or you'll create a bunch of dark realities, alternate realities. And then Steve literally says to him, prune the branches. I get it. Okay. So somewhere along the line, when Steve went back to put the stones back, problems happened, chaos ensued, and many branch realities were created. And then either Steve or the TVA, or perhaps Steve and the TVA together, either pruned the branches or they naturally were pruned through an incursion. Does that make sense? Does that help you? X-Men. Okay, we love the X-Men. So cool that they're in the film. So cool that they're in the movie. Let's talk about a universe 10005. That is the designation of the universe at the end of the Marvel's movie. This is a universe that has Monica Rambeau as the binary character. We do have Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Charles Xavier is mentioned, and I think it's going to end up being Chuck and Patrick Stewart and all that, right? And of course, Monica Rambeau is trapped on the other side of an incursion in that world. Now, here's something that's really interesting about that X-Men universe. Do you recall that they knew she was from another universe? That as soon as she's in there, Beast is explaining that she's from another universe. Well, according to the leaks and the rumors we've heard, that's because that X-Men universe is out there studying multiverses and fucking destroying them. Which I think is true. They're out there destroying universes, dude. Okay? But there's other things that are going on with this. So just over the weekend, Alex Perez and Cantina, I appreciate it. Let me yap for a second and I'll get that 10. Just over the weekend, Alex Perez in one of the Q&As confirmed what I've been telling you guys for probably 3 months now, and that is that the X-Men universe in this film is a utopia. It is a utopia. Okay, so the idea here is that this is meant to be some version of the Fox X-Men films that we had been through in the past, taken to its natural conclusion where Magneto got the utopia that he wanted. Charles got the utopia that he wanted, right? So that's kind of interesting. So you have a utopian X-Men universe potentially out there destroying other universes, and that's the main group of X-Men that are going to be a part of the movie. But I think there's more. Multiversal X-Men. Now, this is lesser talked about than the multiversal Avengers, but I still think there's a possibility here. I mean, one thing that you have to recognize is technically Gambit, X-23, Deadpool, and that Logan are multiversal X-Men. Depending on what the fuck is going on Earth 10005, there's either two or three Wolverines in that universe. So, like, is Deadpool's world 10005? We're not sure. If it is, there's potentially 3 different Logans there. Blade is another example, yes, but he's actually not a X-Men, just so you know, Carl. But sure. So yes, there's multiversal X-Men that are going to be in the film. That's just period. We know that via Deadpool, via X-23, via some of these other characters, right? But what if there's more? Because here's the other thing. There was a report, and I forget which of the scoopers had this report actually, but one of them said that there would be variants of popular Marvel characters in Doomsday that we would never see again. Yeah, 838 is also a utopia. I actually have some thoughts on that too. So actually, before I go further, let me read the 10 spot here from Cantina Talks. And really appreciate the 10, man. You guys have been very generous today. I really appreciate it. I think we're cooking. I can feel that people are kind of digging it. So it feels good. And trust me, we're just getting started. Like, dude, a lot of nerd venging in our future. You understand? But Cantina Talks, thank you for the 10, says, low-key feel like the first trailer for Doomsday needs to focus on the X-Men to get those fans back that have been wanting to see those characters for the last 10 plus years. Just a thought though. Oh yeah. I mean, I think the X-Men are going to be a huge focus of the marketing for this thing, partially because the chairs. Like the chairs kind of like if there was anything really cool about the chairs, it was the confirmation of those X-Men. You know what I mean? And I think James Marsden, like he's talked a lot about it. Chan's talked about it. Nightcrawler guys talked about it. Yeah, so there's a lot of like interesting stuff being said about all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. I think X-Men is the way to go. Now, getting back to the point here, multiversal X-Men, there was a scoop that said we would get variants that you'd never see again. Some of the craziest variants ever. Now, I mean, dude, some of these things come to mind. Like I've always said, Old Man Phoenix, dude. Old Man Phoenix is one of my favorite variants of Wolverine. This is a variant of Wolverine at the end of time. He's the last living person in the universe. So the Phoenix Force obviously needs a mutant host and decides that it's going to be him. What an incredible character. And, you know, there's a lot of buzz out there about the fan service that could be happening like in the third act of Doomsday, right? And this connects to rumors of Avengers Forever and a lot of the ideas from Avengers Forever that appear to be in this film as well. I mean, I've talked to you guys about this for like years at this point. When I was reading through Avengers Forever, it was right around the time that Kevin Feige became the CCO of Marvel Entertainment. He's the president of Marvel Studios, but he was given a promotion, actually very similar to Dave Filoni's promotion over at Star Wars. Kevin became the CCO of all of Marvel Entertainment. Now, some bad things happened with that. I'm going to be real. Like Miss Marvel being killed off in a Spider-Man book only to be resurrected in an X-Men book, which doesn't make any fucking sense. So there's been some hiccups there as Kevin's purview now includes all of comics, but there have been some good things too. One of the things that was said around that time, and I can't remember if this was said by Dan Buckley or maybe one of the editors at Marvel, or if it was actually said by Kevin. I can't remember exactly who said it, but they said, you know, we kind of want to use the comics as being about 5 years ahead of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Do you guys remember that? You remember that? I forget who said it, but they were like, we kind of feel as though the comics are like an idea tank that's about 5 years ahead of things you might see pop up in the MCU. Okay? And then Trev says, Utopia universe is acting akin to Doom's Latveria, an authoritarian utopia, and the characters are acting like Doom in comics, destroying universes. That is an interesting point. Yes. Yes, and there could be machinations there. Absolutely. I mean, dude, I'll just tell you straight up, Trev. I was told Doom is going to force that X-Men universe to attack 616 first. So the first thing we're going to see in Doomsday is that X-Men team attacking 616, which might get the citizens of 616 to not feel so great when the X-Men pop up after Doomsday. Or Secret Wars, rather. Okay, anyway, back to the point I was making. Fuck, I kind of lost my train of thought. God damn it, Trev. Multiversal X-Men, variants of X-Men, blah, 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 fan service. Avengers Forever. Okay, so, you know, the more I think about the Avengers Forever stuff, and we've been talking a lot about this, I think it's like the perfect opportunity to do that. And if indeed Marvel set it up as that sort of comic incubator of ideas, it's very possible that this was done intentionally to sort of give us a breadcrumb trail of brand synergy to further explain why you would get these variants. So look, man, I want the juice. I want Old Man Phoenix. I want Rune King Thor. I want the Maestro Hulk. I want King Thanos, the Thanos that wins. And there are variants of X-Men that have that too. Horseman, the Phoenix of the White Hot Room, or the Phoenix of the Crown. Yeah, dude, like there's all sorts of them. I mean, what about Legion? You know what I mean? A lot of cool X-Men variants. So I guess just basically, I think, you know, similar to what you're seeing a pattern here, I hope, start to emerge. I think this is probably Marvel's way to keep it somewhat condensed. Again, outside looking in, it seems chaotic and crazy, and you're like, how the fuck would normies be able to follow along with this? Well, if they keep it like there's Doctor Doom, and then there's multiversal Dooms, and then there's Avengers, and then there's multiversal Avengers, and then there's X-Men, and then there's multiversal X-Men, then all of a sudden, isn't it a little easier to keep track of? Okay, so let's do the last one, although this is going to feel very similar. And we saved them for 4. Fantastic Four. Oh, baby. Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. Well, let's do the obvious one first. The 828FF. Well, a couple of things to get interested. BK Brick, appreciate you, brother. Says, I'm so hyped for 2026. The nerdy space feels good again. Brother, the sun will shine on us again. I mean, and frankly, I've been preaching that, but also I did tell you guys late last year and the beginning of this year, 2025 was going to be rough. Like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but I was like, dude, 2025 might be rough, but we will make it. And we made it, baby. So now we've earned this shit. Now we nerd venge for the next 2 years, and we're actually gonna have a good fucking time, brother. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're on it. Okay. 828 Fantastic Four. You know, as some of you have pointed out in chat, it is kind of interesting that 828 also seems to be a utopia. The X-Men universe is a utopia. The Fantastic Four universe is a utopia. What's up with that? Why is there like a lot of utopias out there? Well, that's kind of like a different thing. I will say that. So there's a part in, I believe it's in the lead up to House of M, but it could have also been an epilogue story to House of M, okay? And it explains that Wanda had looked into the minds and the hearts of a lot of other people and had seen their greatest desires. And a part of what was happening in House of M was she tried to create a reality that gave everybody what they wanted. That's why Peter had kids. Okay? So I don't know how much of that will go into this, but I did have that thought where I was like, man, you know, oh, I miss Carl's here. Don't Blade is not an X-Men me. Miss Marvel is she? Don't you say that shit. Also, X-Men will just be Doom's Army and Avengers vs. X-Men recreated, as you just said. Appreciate you, Coral. Appreciate you, Coral. Okay. So, Fantastic Four, Utopias, maybe there's something there. But more to the point, we know that in this universe you have Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, and Franklin Richards. Okay. And we know that for all intents and purposes, they've seemed to have gone through a very similar thing to what the comic book variants of them did. Cosmic rays, accident, powers, etc. They seem to be a bit behind the Reed Richards of 838, which seems to be more modern, was actually studying the multiverse and cataloging the multiverse. And 828 was well behind that. Remember how emotional Reed got when he understood that Galactus was from a different reality. Okay? Now, Reed talks about other dimensions, but at the time when he's explaining to the kids, it feels like theoretical. Right? 10 years ahead. Oh, shit. So it was C.B. Cebulski that said that? C.B. Cebulski, Nick Lowe recently revealed that the publisher tries to stay 10 years ahead of the storylines adapted for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The publisher's goal is to tell stories set 10 years beyond those seen in the big and small screens. Lowe added this approach allows the comic develop narratives that other media, including the MCU, can later draw upon. We always look at the Marvel as a body, and Marvel Comics is the beating heart that sends blood everywhere else. What a quote. Yeah, so interesting, right? Again, when was Avengers Forever published? The new one. When did it start? Anybody? Chat? Was it around 2015, 2016? I don't know. 2017, maybe? Maybe we're not quite there. But yeah, thanks for that, man. That's kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah, going back to the Fantastic Four, man. Y'all got the ADD going crazy on me today. Okay. So, seems like accurate, but also 838 is ahead of them. It's in the more modern version, right? So that version of Reed was way into the future, was cataloging the multiverse, et cetera, et cetera. 828 Reed, there doesn't seem to be a lot of other heroes. The villains seem standard. There's no Thanos. There's no crazy shit like that. So it could be the case that Reed is like just years behind that 838 variant universe or whatever, right? But obviously 828 is very important. And I think partially that is important because of Franklin Richards and because of all the rumors that in a separate and different universe, which may well end up being 838. No, it can't be 838 because there was a Reed there. Anyway, in one of the universes, Doctor Doom, RDJ's Doctor Doom, apparently he was in the Fantastic Four. And, well, we don't know that for sure, but he was married to Sue, and he had the child of Franklin Richards, okay? So that implies multiversal Fantastic Four, right? Which we knew. We knew was a thing. Are you starting to see the pattern? Multiversal FF. Well, we've seen quite a bit of these, actually. There's the McCormick version from 94. There's the version from 2005 with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. There's the F4 version from, 2015, 2016 with Josh Trank. And then there is the 838 version that we see in Multiverse of Madness. Now, I want to go back to the Fantastic Four movie and a couple of different rumors around this film. Now, there were a lot of rumors that the Fantastic Four universe was going to be destroyed, and we would watch the Fantastic Four leave their universe 4616 at the end of that film. This is actually something that Gary Nerderotic reported, which didn't end up coming to pass, but other people reported this as well. I think what happened was Marvel changed the ending, kind of similar to Quantumania. They reshot the ending for Quantumania 3 weeks before it was in movie theaters. And basically they panicked because the original version, the original ending of Quantumania was going to be Kang wins. Oh my God. I bet Marvel wishes they had just done that, dude. Like, I bet they wish they had just done that because I think that would have been a lot more interesting and maybe people would have appreciated Kang more. But anyway, I think that might have happened to the Fantastic Four movie. Now, another thing that happened around then, and you'll recall, I was told by several sources that there was going to be a post-credit scene that showed Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, showed Ian Goofred as Reed Richards, Jessica Alba, and even Michael Chiklis, who, by the way, was doing Instagram photos of him getting back in shape. And I was told they shot some shit with those four. And they potentially shot a thing where they are all destroyed, maybe by Victor Von Doom. I think what Gary was talking about still exists. I think what I was told about the post-credit scenes still exists, and I think we will see it in Doomsday now. So I literally think in Doomsday, we're going to see that version of FF get fucking annihilated by Victor Von Doom. We might see all the FF get annihilated by Victor Von Doom, and that would be pretty freaking crazy. Okay, now there's another thing here though, and we'll put it, I'm just going to put it right here. Black Panther. Now, a lot of reports that there's going to be another Black Panther in Doomsday. And there's some question as to whether or not it'll be a Wakandan universe. Because remember, Feige said that the Wakandans, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Avengers would all be fighting against Doctor Doom, and that's a part of the plot. And then remember in Shanghai, there's that scene, it was in that holographic presentation, and there's like that scene that looked a lot like wherever the Watcher was watching the entire universe in the What If show, and it gets shattered. And if you recall, they took the broken pieces of glass and they put logos on all of them. And one was Avengers, one was Fantastic Four, one was X-Men, and then one was Wakanda. And so it's possible there will be a whole ass universe that is a Wakandan utopia, or Wakanda took over the entire world. And that would be cool. But you know what I think it is? I think it's just the case that Black Panther is in the 828 universe and just hasn't revealed himself. Because, dude, if you go all the way back to like the first appearance of Black Panther back when Stan Lee was writing that shit, essentially Black Panther breaks into the Baxter building and beats the entire team of the Fantastic Four. And Stan Lee did this on purpose because he wanted to create this black, powerful, masculine character that was a king. And he was literally using the creation of the Fantastic Four as a way to build T'Challa. So he builds T'Challa by being like, this dude could take out the whole Fantastic Four. So what if the Wakandans and this Black Panther that we are going to see in Doomsday is in 828, but just hidden from Reed? And wouldn't that be shocking to everybody that like Reed didn't even know of T'Challa and this character, and then the Wakandans show up and then they're all fighting for a universe? So that could be really cool. However, it would suck if they did that and then Doom just destroyed the entire universe. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I mean, I don't, I don't know. Right now, it feels like the end of the film is going to have, because Christian Harloff reported that 3 different planets would be smashing together at the end of this movie, right? And right now, the smart money is one of those will be an X-Men universe, one of those will be an Avengers universe, and then it's going to be the Fantastic Four universe. However, there was a leak that said it would be the 838 universe. So what if Doom destroys 828? What if the Black Panther is on 838, or perhaps in the X-Men Utopia movie, and maybe there's more going on than meets the eye? I'm not really sure. But either way, it feels like there's going to be Black Panther. And then going back to the Avengers thing too, or I guess depending on how you look at it, could be Doom. There's designs of Namor that looks more comic accurate. Namor apparently at one point I've been told might ride a Kraken. Holy shit. And that might be absolutely incredible. But that is by and large the main players, characters, and teams of Avengers Doomsday. Any questions about this? Any questions on this before we move on? Does this make sense to you guys? How does Toby fit in? Well, we're about to talk about the different threads of the plot. Like, I think it's important to say what's the A plot, the B plot, and the C plot. Maybe there's D and E in this movie as well. Toby comes into play via the multiversal Avengers. I strongly feel that is his place in the film. So he is likely recruited out of a dying world, much like Deadpool was, except perhaps there'll be more of an imminent danger, either through Doom's Cabal, the X-Men destroying universes, or something like that. So Toby ties in via the multiversal Avengers in the TVA. Namor has been cool since Wakanda Forever, right? You mean like he's just chilling? Yeah, I mean, we don't really know too much of what he's doing, but he seems like he's just chilling, yeah. How does Paul Rudd fit into this? Paul Rudd will be a part of the 616 Heroes. What about Loki? Well, Loki is at the end of time holding everything together, but at some point he might become involved with the multiversal Avengers. So right now, a rumored plot point is that Doom is going to go confront Peggy and Steve at their homestead, and apparently Loki's there. So I don't know exactly. Does Ant-Man die? I think I am not, I don't want to say everything that I've heard about Ant-Man, but I'll say this. I don't think, fuck, I don't know how to say this. There might be something happening with Ant-Man. Ant-Man, Scott Lang's Ant-Man. Well, let me ask you like this. Hasn't there always been something a little weird about Scott Lang's Ant-Man? Hasn't there always been just a little something off about that character? Hasn't he had a lot of weird things happen to him? Interesting. Yo, honestly, can't throw all the blame on Quantumania on Jonathan. No, you absolutely cannot. I think he was actually pretty good in that movie. So Paul Rudd and Ant-Man needs to go. The bottom line decrees it, brother. Oh, geez. Will we see Norman Osborn? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, dude, that would be cool. Can't throw one under the bus and say it's not his fault. Y'all got mad about ants, and now he's desired. John, I get it. I mean, I'm not that upset about it, but I totally get it, man. Yeah. Ant-Man is definitely. I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah. You said Kang changed someone into Ant-Man just as he changed Doom. That is quite an interesting statement. Doc Ock shows up with Toby. Wouldn't that be interesting? We can't give it all away. This ain't the give it all away stream. Come on now. Okay. Do we understand the players? I think we're explaining Doomsday pretty well so far. What do you guys think? I mean, I think we kind of brought you in on why. We're talking about who. Maybe next we talk about what? Maybe next we talk about what? Let's talk plot. Basic plot equal multiverse needs saved. Okay. So that's the basic plot of the film. Everybody understands this, right? I mean, that kind of that Tao's ass for clean board. Yeah, it's not great. I don't know where my other thing went. Okay, jeez, everybody's got a fucking opinion out there. So basic plot: Doom and others are going to be trying to save the multiverse, right? Like the multiverse needs saved. So that is the driving force of the plot. And I would argue that it is likely the case that what has been somewhat lackadaisical and a bit all over the place in phases 4 and 5 will now be turned up to 11, and it's really going to be accelerated. I mean, I think many universes will be destroyed in Avengers Doomsday, and I think that will cause pressure. There's, by the way, one of the rumors that's out there is that you're going to have a countdown. That this entire movie is going to be vignetted against a countdown to Doomsday. So, 10 days to Doomsday, 5 days to Doomsday, 1 hour to Doomsday, like all that sort of stuff, right? So that's the basic plot. Now, there's going to be all kinds of different people that have opinions on how to save it, okay? But I think you can kind of break it down into basically two scenarios, okay? Over here, let's put the hero's plan. And right here, we'll put Doom's plan. Okay, now this is actually really important. We could probably put Kang's plan on here, but we know what Kang's plan is, right? I mean, Kang's plan is pretty obvious. It's a loop. Like, Kang basically was like, I've ended the multiversal war, and now I've put it on a loop, and there's contingencies and contingencies. And if this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens. And it will always end up back to the loop. Resurrection, baby. I will just come back. It will always happen. So he put the multiverse on a loop, okay? And we know that he stopped the organic prime version of how the multiverse was playing out. And he bastardized it. And there's a stated purpose. So Kang's stated purpose, I actually was just thinking that, chilling. I might literally go make another cup of coffee, dude. I don't know how long we've been streaming. I'm not even looking at the clock, but like, I just know we're cooking. I just know we're cooking and having fun. So that's all I know. By the way, just out of curiosity, how many of you remember Kang's stated purpose for pruning all the branches? What was his stated purpose? Like, why was he doing it? Does anybody know? What about the wills of the Force? Wait, what? Ah, dude, Carl actually got it. To control the Kangs. It was to stop variants of himself. So the most important thing, and this is not so obvious just from the show, but Michael Waldron was pretty explicit about this in a lot of different interviews. It was to stop any timeline that would end up in a different variant of Kang. Okay? But take a step back. Isn't it also obvious that other things were done as well to prevent other characters from happening? The reason the sacred timeline could create a branch in which there is another Kang is because he created a scenario in which Kang would still ultimately exist. There was some factor of causality that needed to be appreciated here, right? So he could change the timeline in many different ways, but he can't change it so much as that there would not be a variant of himself in the 31st millennium. In fact, in the comics, Doctor Doom is the one that creates time travel in Marvel. Now, there's some debate about this. Some people say no because there's this retcon or that retcon, but like it's just kind of like one of those common knowledge things. Doom creates time travel. And Kang speaks to this because there's a moment in the original Avengers Forever where Kang and Doom have a conversation about how they could be related, about how they could be the same person. Kang doesn't want to destroy Doom, partially because he actually can't be 100% sure that Doom isn't himself. It's like really crazy, okay? But it is, to me, pretty clear that he created a scenario in which Doom would still create time travel so that Kang would still get time travel in the 31st century, but he couldn't have Victor be Victor. Like, doesn't that feel like it makes sense? And perhaps other characters, like whoever Scott Lang might really be, maybe they also had an important part to play in this story that Kang was trying to curate. Okay? But that's all before this. You see? So now, when we get into Doomsday, and we know the basic plot is that the multiverse needs saved, well, there's going to be basically two plans. There's going to be the hero's plan, and then there's going to be Doom's plan. Now, this comes down to Chris Evans, Captain America, versus RDJ's Doctor Doom. And this is where a lot of the leaks and the rumors that the scoopers have been talking about with regards to Cap and Steve Rogers versus RDJ and versus Doctor Doom, and the whole movie really comes down to this. The movie's complex. As we've explained, there's a lot of complexities here, a lot of leaks, a lot of rumors, a lot of interesting stuff going on. But at the end of the day, simple things are going to be the vehicle to get most of the audience to get on board and understand what's happening. And let me just ask the class, if you've read Hickman's Avengers, New Avengers, and his time runs out in Secret Wars, what was the thing that put Steve Rogers at odds with Tony Stark? Anybody? Anybody? So, one of my favorite parts of the story. I'm gonna yap about this, so get ready, okay? So, when it was first solicited, the New Avengers run by Hickman, it was solicited because Marvel was doing something they had never done before, and that was that the Black Panther had joined the Illuminati. And I remember I saw the solicits for it, I saw a poster for it, and I said, there ain't no way. There ain't no way. Because T'Challa was approached for the Illuminati originally. And it's Reed, Professor X, Tony, I forget who all was in the original team, but Black Panther is recruited, and he says no. And Black Panther's like, don't do this. Go home. And he talks about how this would be terrible. And this would be a terrible idea. Okay. So he never joined the Illuminati. Okay. In the first issue of New Avengers, an incursion happens in Wakanda. Now, this is after Avengers versus X-Men and a war between Atlantis and Wakanda where many Wakandans died. In fact, so many Wakandans died that T'Challa was known as the King of the Dead, and he was banished to the necropolis. Shuri is Black Panther and Queen, and T'Challa is banished to the necropolis and is called the King of the Dead. Now, he's still the king, and a lot of people, the royals still obviously follow him, and there's a lot of people that respect him, et cetera, but he's at somewhat of a low point. This is the point I'm making. The incursion opens. He goes through, he sees it, they capture the Black Swan, they watch her destroy an Earth. So imagine you're T'Challa, okay, and you've been having a tough time. And you go through this portal, you're like, what the hell is this? You go through this portal, and you see this like albino chick, and she's like, beep, blows up a fucking Earth, and then just cruises on through to your neighborhood. Right? Like, obviously, that's not going to be the most chill ass thing. So they capture her, and there's this cool like dialogue where T'Challa's praying to his ancestors for forgiveness as he invites some of the most power hungry, manipulative, and evil men on the planet to the necropolis, and that's the Illuminati. And so T'Challa joins the Illuminati for the first time ever. And very early on, as the Illuminati is gathering, it's explained by the Black Swan that the way incursions work is two Earths will collide. So the portal will open,
and you've got Earth. Let's go Earth 1, Earth 2. They begin to collide. It usually takes about 8 hours for this thing to happen. Now, if neither of the Earths are destroyed, both universes are destroyed. But if you destroy one Earth, both universes remain. Now, this creates a scenario in which you have to go destroy entire Earths to save universes. That's what the Black Swan was doing when she's captured by T'Challa. Okay. So the next thing that happens is Reed Richards and T'Challa make a bomb that could destroy a whole Earth. And Steve Rogers is like, no. And he says, look, I know what you're going to do. You're going to justify this. You're going to talk yourselves in to believing this is the only way. And then you're going to start destroying Earths. And then what happens after that? And Steve, just like he always is, it's an antimatter bomb too, which is really interesting, James. Yeah, just like the Shredder from Deadpool and Wolverine. You see how some of these ideas are operating? Yeah, it's really interesting. So eventually they try the stones. It doesn't really work. All the stones get shattered, actually, except the time stone. As they push something away. It saves them a little bit of time, but they're pretty dejected at that point. There's this really cool scene back in the necropolis where Steve corners T'Challa and gives him a classic Steve speech, dude. You know, about honor and not crossing a line and not becoming a villain and all this shit, right? And Steve stands up in the middle of the Illuminati meeting and he gives this big fucking speech, dude. And he's talking about how, like, yo, we can't do this. We can't be these people. This, that, second, and the third. Aren't I right, T'Challa? Hey, T'Challa, you got my back on this, right? And T'Challa's dead ass like, no. Fuck you, Steve. They erase his memory and they teleport him out. Dude, it's crazy. Eventually, he regains the memories and gets fucking pissed, dude, and goes after these motherfuckers. It's crazy. It was a really fun, layered story. Again, one of my favorite comic book stories of all time. I have a big video on the channel breaking it down, by the way. You should check that out. But anyway, the point is this. In that story, Steve doesn't want to cross the lines. In that story, Steve says, we will find another way. No matter what, we will find another way. So the hero's plan find another way. Okay. Now let's talk about Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom's stated plan in the movie is that he can stop the incursions and reestablish order to the multiverse. Okay? So now, it gets a little fuzzy here because, like, a lot of different reports about this. Right now, we know that Doom is lying to everybody. And again, I have this big video coming out tomorrow. You're definitely going to watch that because I break down in great detail what everybody's been saying about this. But we know that Doom is essentially lying to everybody. The question is, what is he telling everybody the plan is? And then what is his real plan? Now, right now, Shine is suggesting that he's going to tell everybody that he can just restore order. Potentially, if he gets to Loki, maybe, right? If he gets to Loki, given his amazing, incredible power, he can actually reset everything and save everything, okay? But it's just like weird if that's what he's doing, and he's also working with Clea and Strange, and they're out there destroying universes. Feels like that's accurate as well, right? And if Clea, I want you to really listen to what I'm saying. If Clea is literally destroying universes for Doom, and yet even she's going to become aware of Doom's real plan, then that implies that even the people that are out there destroying trillions of lives still don't understand just how dark and twisted Doctor Doom's actual plan is. Okay? So, Doom is lying. I forgot the age. Establish order equals a lie. So what's the truth? Well, I think the marketing of the movie is going to make you believe that the truth is he wants to get to where Steve Rogers is at, and maybe using Loki's power, he can kill Steve before Steve goes back in time to cause all of the incursions, and then he resets all of the multiverse, okay? But I don't think so, because Daniel said that Doom is looking for all the people that caused incursions, okay? And I think it's possible that the characters that cause incursions are actually causing branch timelines and therefore becoming the anchor beings of said timelines. Not 100% on that. And it's also possible that all those people are the prime variants of themselves. Walk with me on this. If Stephen Strange is the greatest danger and threat to the entire multiverse, if Stephen Strange was causing incursions, if Stephen Strange is now helping Doctor Doom destroy other universes, is it possible Stephen Strange is the prime variant of Stephen Strange? Meaning, when Alex said that Strange had an echo of a memory from the Prime universe where he knew the Fantastic Four as the astronauts from the 60s that went up into space, had the accident, got the cosmic rays, and got their powers. And in Multiverse of Madness, some remnant of that actual memory made Steven say, didn't you chart in the 60s? Then either all the variants have access to the prime memories, or the prime variants are out there in the multiverse and they have the ability to cause incursions and maybe create new timelines. And so I think it could be the case that there's some power, there's some attribute of reality, some attribute of maybe eternity, or just the prime universe that is in certain variants out there. And I think Steve Rogers is one of those variants. Okay. And so it could be the case that Doom is telling everybody we need to slow down the incursions, and that's why we're destroying worlds. Clea's like, yo, I get it. I'm down. And he's maybe telling other people that he needs to gather up the people that caused incursions to have the power to reset them all and save the multiverse. And in reality, Doom doesn't plan on saving the multiverse at all. He wants these variants because they have power. And he wants to destroy everything and remake it in his name. And I got to tell you, destroy every reality equal truth. Now, a long time ago, I think it was Shine said that the motivation for Doom was that he had a vendetta against the multiverse. He wanted to destroy the multiverse and have a singular universe. That in his mind, the only way to prevent incursions from happening was to have a singular universe. And that's Battleworld, that's God Emperor Doom. It's all just one. Okay. But I feel as though this will be connected to understanding what the Prime universe was and to understanding that so much of this multiverse is fake. Now, this ties into stuff that Majestic is currently talking about right now, because so Majestic is saying that essentially the battle in the movie really is going to be Team Cap and Team Doom. And on the side of Team Cap, they want to preserve the current multiverse. And it totally makes sense because Steve had the friend Tony, right? And Steve, remember what Tony says to him? Tony says, I have to tell you my priorities. And so much of this goes back to Doomsday or to Endgame. I have to tell you my priorities. Save everyone that we lost. I hope so. Lose what we have. I can't. So Tony says, I will help you time travel, but I have to tell you what this is. I have to tell you my priorities. I don't want to change anything. So let's go back to Nomad and Steve putting all the stones back. So if Steve discovered that all of the multiverse was a lie, if Steve discovered that everything was fake, he would still not change it because of the promises that he made. And frankly, Loki feels the same way. The heroes feel the same way. So many of the heroes are going to say that even though this universe is fake, even though this isn't real reality, we should preserve it. And what Majestic is saying is that Doom is on the opposite end of that. Doom is going to view everything in the entire multiverse as expendable because it's not real. It's not the real universe. Right? And I think that's the core conflict of the film. The heroes want to find another way and preserve what is. Victor doesn't give a fuck and wants to destroy everything and remake it in his image. Okay? So I think this is the basics of the plot. This is what's going to be sold through marketing. This is what the normies are going to say the movie is really about. And that's what I think. So any questions on this here? Any ideas, concepts, questions? What do you guys make of this? Does this make sense? Do you have somewhat of an understanding of how this all goes together? Right. I think you're getting it, man. Will any of the galactic powers be involved? I mean, that's a good question. I would assume the cosmic entities are involved in some way, but they're likely just going to be used as sort of a power scaling thing. So, like, for instance, if we watch RDJ's Doctor Doom literally cut the head off of the living tribunal, or some shit like that, like that's a big building moment. Like that is like, whoa, right? Which happens. I mean, that's what the Beyonders kind of do that. God Emperor Doom literally fights against the Beyonders at the end of time. But then the Doom who remains, or the Doom above all dooms in the Avengers Forever, like he literally describes killing star gods, destroying cosmic entities, strangling beings beyond comprehension. Like it's a part of like just building up his swag. You make me so hyped. Stormy, we're back, baby. I know we fell apart for a couple of years, but we're back, baby, like we never left. How did Kang usurp time, infinity, and eternity to rewrite reality? I mean, I think that'll be revealed potentially. I really don't know, brother. Yeah. I love this true self and old universe stuff. Feels like the ancient and grand. Having these characters realize that there's a vast past is a true reality seems cosmically compelling. Yes, I agree. And I think parts of this will be in the next saga. I think some of the things we're talking about right now will not be completely wrapped up and instead will be lingering questions in the rebooted or reset MCU. Because, by the way, we'll skip ahead to the end. You're not getting your Prime Universe back. What you're getting is a combination. So who's going to win? Well, at first, Doom. Okay, Doom's going to win. He's going to win in Doomsday, and he will have won when we're in Secret Wars. But who's going to win Secret Wars? Who's going to win in Secret Wars? The heroes. So the heroes win in Secret Wars. So what that means is the canon will be changed, but you're not going back to the Prime Universe. No, you're getting an updated version of the fake universe. And what does that do? That leaves all the same issues for the next saga. It leaves the possibility of other variants from the Prime Universe coming back. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, this is a toy box. This is a sandbox of a fun concept and idea. I don't know. I mean, it could be cooking. So MCU Ultimate Universe, maybe. Maybe something like that. Okay, we've been streaming forever. Should we talk about the 3 acts of the film and what I think is going to happen, and then we'll call it? I feel like that's an appropriate way to end it, yeah? Because this is the basics, but let's maybe drill down. Okay. And finally, we have arrived at the how. So, let's go Act 1. I will, let's see here. We'll say timer starts. Okay. So, Act 1 is going to be about the timer starting, the stakes being set, and that involves destruction, loss. So whether it's the Toby universe or the Fantastic Four universe or several Fantastic Four universes, I strongly feel that the start of the film is going to set up the ticking timer that drives the entire plot of the film. The next thing I think it does my thing's kind of in the way there. Intro Doom, obviously, right? I mean, like, we need to know who the fuck Dr. Doom is, and we really don't. So, the trailers will probably set that up a little bit, but, we could see a scenario where maybe the timer and the destruction of Doom's universe are the same scene. Maybe it's the same scene that sets that up. Okay? I also think Act 1 needs to introduce the multiversal Avengers. So in my mind, I think this means Loki or the TVA recruiting up these other variants. So maybe we visit many different universes. Maybe we just visit a few. And I think you will see the TVA recruiting multiversal Avengers, okay? And then probably the most important aspect of Act 1 is 616 is attacked. Now, various ways this could be going. I've heard it's the X-Men. I mean, I'll just tell you, like, I've heard it's the X-Men. I've heard the X-Men are going to come in and attack 616, and maybe Doom's there, and maybe Reed's there. Maybe they're like, these X-Men are a problem. And so we're here and we're going to help you out. And we're going to try to, like, help you. What's going on? This is, generally speaking, what I think Act 1 looks like. Okay? So let's go into Act 2. So I think in Act 2, we begin by teasing Doom's real plan. Okay? So in Act 1, we're introduced to Doom. He's going to tell the Avengers he's a Tony Stark variant, or Tony was a variant of him. He's going to win their trust by doing that. He's going to say that these X-Men are a problem. He's going to tell other heroes and other people that he can save the multiverse, right? And I think that's an Act 1 thing. I think in Act 2, it'll sort of slowly be revealed that Doom's behind it all. So maybe we get it revealed that Doom was behind pushing the X-Men to attack 616. Maybe we get it revealed that Doom is the one that actually took out Toby's universe in Act 1 or something like that. There's a lot that we don't know. But I think that it's generally going to be the case that in Act 2, we start teasing Doom's actual plan. And remember, part of why I think this is like some of the scoops about Clea and Sylvie indicate that they're going to struggle with learning more about Doom's actual plan, okay? So that's really, really crazy, okay? Next thing that's going to happen, 616 goes on the attack. So I think this will be when the 616 goes into the X-Men universe. There's potentially more to it. This could be like multiple battles or something like that, but I strongly feel that'll be a big part of the movie is when 616 and the Fantastic Four go fight against the X-Men, potentially to get Franklin Richards, or potentially because Doom just manipulated them, or maybe it's because Doom manipulated the X-Men into attacking first. Obviously, Monica's there as well. So there's a lot of reasons as to why different characters would want to go fight against that X-Men universe. And of course, I think as this is going on, like a lot of other destruction and a lot of other things would be going on. But here's the other thing that I think happens in Act 2 that I think is going to be really important to the film. Doom confronts Steve. So we've heard about this scene that was shot on the Windsor estate. Very, very secretive thing. There was a Luke Cage sort of code name given to Steve Rogers to try to hide the fact that he was in the film. But a lot of that didn't work, and we're pretty damn sure that they shot a scene at the house of Steve Rogers, and Peggy's there, Steve's there, Doom's there, and potentially Loki is there as well. And I think this would also connect to the point or to the part of the story where like the other characters begin to realize that Victor's playing everybody, and he's going to either through TVA technology or something else be able to actually get to Steve Rogers. But what I think is going to happen at this point is Loki saves Steve. Okay? And I think what's going to happen at this point is like the multiversal Avengers subplot that's happening will now kind of directly take off, where Loki's going to save Steve and Peggy, and he's going to tell them, oh, hey, by the way, here's my brother Thor. And you guys need to go recruit multiversal Avengers because we have to try to stop Victor. He's trying to destroy all of reality, okay? And I think then that begins to happen, and then we get into Act 3. Okay, I'll put Act 3 down here. Act 3. Final incursion begins. Okay, now, according to Christian, this means the 3 universes. So either 838 or 828, the X-Men universe and the 616 universe are going to have a final battle, a final collision. So again, I think this is like A plot or a B plot. The X-Men and the Avengers are going to be fighting throughout this whole movie. Okay. But they're fighting to like they're fighting in the sense that they're trying to either destroy the other person's world, or really Victor's trying to get them to hurt each other so they can't stand up against them at the end of time. But from their perspective, they've been having these little skirmishes and battles the whole time. But in Act 3 of the movie, it's going to get for serious. The worlds are fucking colliding. The Earths are going to collide. And so you're going to have the craziest fucking action sequences you've ever seen, with 3 different planets all fucking colliding. And they're fighting against each other for their survival. At this point, it is turned up to 11. It is the wildest and craziest shit that is imaginable. I think the next thing that happens, God, I kind of botched this. I got to get better at utilizing the space on the whiteboard. You know what I mean? We'll figure it out. This is the first whiteboard stream we've done in a while. We're going to figure it out here, okay? I'll just put it over here so you guys can see. Doom's Truth comes out. Now, this is likely connected to the Prime Universe, to the fact that he doesn't want to save anything. He wants to destroy everything and remake it in his name. Now, there's all sorts of ways this could go. I think it could get really fucking dark. And I think maybe Doom actually does come from a universe where he's married to Sue and has the child of Franklin. Okay? But what if it gets to the point where he's like, wait a minute, this isn't my real life. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Fuck these people. And he destroys the whole fucking universe and absorbs the power of Franklin, his son, because he's like, this isn't my actual real son. And so he feels justified in doing it because he wants the Prime Universe back. All of this fake shit doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? I don't care. This is a disgrace. Doom doesn't care. And so I think it could be revealed that that's what he does. That's just some fanboy dreaming, but I think it could get really, really twisted. Because the question I keep coming back to is, what could be so dark that Clea's out there destroying universes and then she flips on Doom? You know what I mean? So I think that Doom's Truth will come out, and then you'll see the final incursions, and then you'll see the fight on the Void. Now, the fight on the Void is sort of like going to be a culmination of a lot of things, okay? So Doom and his Illuminati, all of his lieutenants, all the Doom bots that are probably not Doom bots, they're going to destroy the TVA, wipe it out completely, go to the Citadel at the end of time, where then they will be confronted by the Multiversal Avengers. Now, the Multiversal Avengers is going to be a lot of different teams. A lot of them are probably going to get fucking annihilated. This is probably where Tobey Maguire is going to get his shit kicked in by Victor Von Doom. At some point, Steve's going to show up with an army of Captain America variants, and with Thor and an army of Thor variants, and it still won't be enough. Now, according to Majestic, I think there's going to be a superior variant of Iron Man at the end of time as well. I hope it's Tom Cruise. Please be Tom Cruise, but it could be RDJ himself as well. But like, that's where you're basically going to have in the third act the insane battle of all the worlds. And then you're going to have the insane battle with all the variants on the TVA as they are trying to get to Loki. And ultimately, Doom is going to win. Everything will be destroyed. Doom gets all the ultimate power. And he's then going to take all that's left, all the variants, all the worlds, all the destroyed things, slam them all together, and create Battleworld. And so I think, although it's probably going to be a lot more complicated than this, this is the basics of how this is going to work. And it's simple enough that I think normies will understand. And there's going to be a lot of subtext. There's going to be a lot of things that are, kind of revealed in dialogue that maybe normies won't understand, but you and I will be like, whoa, But by and large, chat, that's what I think you're looking at. Okay? And I know there's a lot of confusion about it. And I know there's been a lot of like, oh, but how could they make this work, this, that, second, and the third? I think that's it. So, what do you think? What do you think, chat? It's kind of wild, huh? Kind of a wild one, huh? Does Steve return Mjolnir? No, he still has Mjolnir. I think. I know it's been 3 hours, but I'm going to need you to start over. Jesus. No. But I will play you in Warhammer sometime soon. I think the hype is real. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all working together for me. I'm like, damn, that could work. Wow, that could work. Oh, shit, I see what they're doing here. Oh, wow, that's pretty interesting, you know? So, yeah. Yeah. Kind of a wild one. Kind of a wild one today, guys, but I hope you enjoyed the structure of that. I hope you enjoyed breaking it down. I could be wrong about everything. This could literally all be wrong. But I don't think it is. What about the Beyonders? I have trouble believing the Beyonders will be a part of this thing. I think Franklin, if anything, could connect to the Beyonders in some way, and maybe it's just kind of mentioned. But I kind of doubt that the Beyonders will be a part of it. 12% right. Yeah, it's 12% of a plan. 12% of a plan over here. Josh, this has been a great stream. Well, Jay, I am glad that you like it, my friend. We've got a lot of cooking to do over the next couple of years. And like I said, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm doing good at this and like doing good with content, and we're kind of cooking. And like, when you see the video tomorrow, you're going to be like, damn. But also, like, this is fun, right? Like, it's fun to be able to get out here and through the whiteboard give like a simple way of understanding some of the things that are going on in here, because like I do a lot of this and maybe it doesn't all make sense, but I think when I'm forced to give you a presentation, I can kind of explain it perhaps a little bit better. You know what I mean? Yep. Yeah. I think the beginning starts with Loki realizing Doom is destroying universes. That could be. That could absolutely be. Yeah. Click Clack says, Josh, this stream has been amazing. First Monday I've taken off in over a year, and it was the right one, baby. So happy I caught it all live. Oh, that's great, man. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, brother. What do you think for the runtime? It's got to be close to 3 hours. I mean, everything we just talked about, guys, like that's a lot. It has to be close to 3 hours, I think. Maybe 240. Two questions. Do you think we'll see Battleworld, God, Emperor, Doom at the end of the movie? Post-credit scene, maybe. Secondly, what are the post-credit scenes? Oh, okay. So the rumor right now is there's going to be two. One is the Raft characters surviving to Doomsday or to Battleworld, and the other is Victor on Battleworld. But I don't know if that's real. Like, guys, I hear a lot of shit. I don't know that it's all real. I try to kind of like, you know, I feel like I'm pretty good over time of like, okay, let's try to shake these trees. Let's figure out what's going on, calibrate it, cross-reference. But like, dude, I just don't know. Like, we're a year away. I don't know what the fucking post-credit scenes are, but I know currently the best rumors that we have indicate that it'll be that. Do you think Doom would create the Prime Universe to create his own incredibly twisted version of a multiverse? So from what I understand, he does not want a multiverse. And I don't even think so the thing that's kind of weird about Doom is like, I think he's going to be justified in a sense because it wasn't real before. You know what I mean? So like, if he's like, yo, I don't care about any of that shit, and then he creates somewhat of a nice benevolent world in Battleworld, then you could make the argument that like, that's good. But the truth is, it actually comes down to a line in Endgame. So there's this line in Endgame where Thanos, the time-traveled Thanos at the end of the film, he says to Tony, I'm actually grateful you showed me this because it proves I didn't go far enough. Because just erasing half of the life is never going to be good enough because there will be people that remember what was and they'll never be able to let it go. So thank you, Tony. Now I will destroy this universe. And you know what he says? I will tear it apart atom by atom and remake a benevolent and grateful universe. Who does that sound like? Yeah. Did you say Out of Blood? Yeah. Dude, I'm just telling you, like, it's all been there. It's all been there if you're looking. Sounds like you? Yeah, a little bit, yeah. How much longer will we have to wait for the trailer if we don't see Avatar? I can't answer that. I would say maybe a couple of weeks, which is stupid because I answered it. But what I mean is, like, I don't know accurately. My gut feeling is a couple of weeks. My name is Dome. Endgame gets really underrated for its writing. There's some really good stuff in it. I agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, I think we're gonna call it there. Should have a stream tomorrow, and if all goes well with the Machine Spirits, we'll be playing some Deadpool VR. That shit's fire, bro. Like, we'll have some fun playing some Deadpool VR. There'll probably be some news and whatnot to go over as well. So we'll probably, touch on a couple of news topics, and then we'll get into some Deadpool VR. If not, we'll just have a regular stream if I can't get the VR working. And then Wednesday, we should have a regular stream. Wednesday night, I want to talk more about the video series. I'll probably take Thursday off. And then Friday, we'll be back to cooking. And there'll be a big video dropping for you guys tomorrow as well. So that's gonna do it for me here today. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the support. We are back to regular business around these parts, and we have a lot to do. So we're just going to be nerd-venging and having fun, and I appreciate you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Oh man, that was a happy landing. It feels good to cook and receive positive feedback from you guys. It's good. And bros, we've been through it for a couple of years, and I'm telling you, I think we're on the other side of it. And oh my God, we have so much cooking. We have so much fun to have. We have so many theories and speculative ideas and, other kind of interesting ideas that I'm working on. So we're just gonna do our thing, man. You know what I mean? We're gonna do our thing, and I hope that you get something out of it. You know what I mean? I feel as though you will. So thank you. All right. Hey, go out there and enjoy the rest of your day. Clips will drop later if you missed some of the news topics. So those will drop later. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. Appreciate you. Get on out of here. And would you do me a favor? Actually, make it 2. Open up your third eye and wash out your stinky, stinky butt.